Very good evening. Nice to have your company wherever you're tuning in all around Australia or indeed the world, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to your second dose of Saturday Night Motorsport for 2022 across the platforms of SimShed, be it Facebook, YouTube, you name it, we've got it covered for you. Tonight, it is stock car racing, of course, the continuation of the custom paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship, the Diamond in the Desert 300, as we head to Las Vegas Motor Speedway on the west coast of America for 300 miles of oval action. Zach Caven with you in the commentary box. Nice to be back with you for the first time this year on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. My offsider from the RSRA Super Series, Matt Davis, is here, as well as Mark Johansson, of course, the head honcho of the ASCC, as we like to call him, and we'll get him involved in just a moment. Matt Davis, though, first up to you. Good evening, welcome. A sunset race for us here tonight. A lot of fun ahead, and 300 miles, 200 laps ahead of us in the desert.
Zach Caven, big good evening to you, Mark, JP, and everybody at home. Welcome back. It's first time back in the booth for the year for myself, so I'm excited to get underway for what's going to be an absolute cracking year of commentary between the two of us this year, between the ASCC, the RSRA, not just the two nights of RSRA, but another one coming up as well. I mean, we have so much booked in just between the two of us. It's good to be back in the booth with you, Zach Caven. 300 miles around the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. What an absolute cracking night it's going to be.
You can see the circuit there on your screen, ladies and gentlemen. The Diamond in the Desert 300. We'll get to the track notes and the race information for you in just a moment. But as is, standard procedure for most of these stock car races, they just turn left. And we're looking forward to the racing tonight. Racecraft always plays a part in these races because this isn't your traditional Talladega or Daytona. The guys will spread out a little bit tonight. But as far as the 1.5 milers are concerned, this is one of the better ones, and it should throw up some great entertainment and a little bit of hip and shoulder here and there as well. Nothing wrong with that. What we should point out as well is that this is a twilight affair, so the lights will be on at the start and they'll be firmly in the dark by the end of the night, as we will be as well. In fact, I live in Queensland. We're always in the dark.
You're already in the dark by now, Zach
Exactly
Caven.
right. 100%. Oh, geez. Only 5 more weeks of that crap too. Welcome into Mark Johansson for the first time tonight, mate. Nice to have you back on board. Thanks for having us back on board for 2022. The series keeps going from strength to strength. For those that weren't here last week, including Matt and myself, and anyone that might be just tuning in for their first dose of Weekend Warriors action, give us a little bit of a refresher on what unfolded last week, mate, and Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, it's good to have both of you back in the booth. Well, last week, guys, we were at Michigan for the opening round. We had a slightly smaller field than usual. Only had 28 cars turn up last week, but the racing was nonetheless the same as it normally is, hard and fast.
Exactly right. And just for the benefit of those that are tuning in, mate, just give us a refresh of one, who's the man to beat, who's got the form coming into tonight.
Oh, there's a couple of guys there. Even though Ed Foster won the round last week, he showed a hard and fast set of heels to people. But there was also JCW, Devon Stowe, and the dark horse that everyone kind of sort of never rated, but he's away tonight. He can't make the race. Was Aiden Schultz. He started out of off pole, but ended up down in 23rd or something, and then fought his way back to finish second.
Yeah, a good fight back from Schultz all the same. Of course, Ed Foster, we know, a gun performer in these cars. Looking forward to seeing who can take the fight to him as the season goes on. He's sitting 4th at the moment. Practice not too far off wrapping up here, ladies and gentlemen. A lot of new names for us, Matt Davis, but the one thing that is of significant note here is that there's a field of about 40 lining up tonight. 41 actually in the server at the moment. This is easily the biggest field that you and I have commentated across either RSRA or stock car series racing competition, because the numbers last year were for the back half of the year, and I know you were only with us for a couple of the Weekend Warrior outings towards the back end. Um, uh, Mid 20s was about par for what you'd get. Sometimes you were scraping 20 and that was it. Huge resurgence in numbers at the start of the year. We can only hope that there's no drop off in that as the season goes on. Obviously, Saturday nights aren't everybody's cup of tea or kettle of fish. Sometimes, social life, family commitments, other things get in the way. But from the outset, 40 is a really promising number and maybe a reflection of the track itself. People must like racing here too.
Yeah, it's some of the guys really love this track, but as the season goes on, mate, we'll have drop off. But that's like anywhere. Guys get midway through the season and realise they can't win it, and they pick and choose on what they want to race.
Exactly.
So it's to be expected. We cleared everything out at the end of last season, and everyone that wanted to come back and race with us has, and we've got 80 plus cars nominated for this year. So there's a big range of guys to show their faces this year.
It
That's
is
a
an
big,
awesome
big
turnout,
field.
100%. And I mean, Matt Davis, you and I know from commentating the Super Series and the Super 2E series, respectively, that there's about 80 registrations there across the two series, and that's why we've got two series. But here in stock car land for custom paints and die-casts, different story. There's only one grid, and there are qualifying procedures in place to make sure that the championship contenders from last season get first bite of the cherry, and then everyone else is free for all. But these tracks have a certain density, and once we hit that density, if you're not in, you're out. You're sitting on the sideline. You're watching from the wrong side of the fence.
Yeah, it really throws the pressure on the drivers. I mean, if you want to, obviously we've got our regulars, JCW, and obviously Stephen Williams from last year, who's also last year's winner at the Texas Motor Speedway. So time completion is 2 hours and 14 minutes. So that's the record to beat for tonight, and also a contender for tonight. But it's a lot of new names for us to go through. I mean, with us with the RSRA, we were so used to last season, and now this season it's going to be a whole different range of names that we're going to have to get used to again. So I mean, we've got the next 8 or so months ahead of us, 9 or so months ahead of us to learn these names, and I mean, that's just the 40 car field that we've got at the moment. Then there's still another 40 cars drivers sitting outside watching in on tonight, going, I could have been there if they had to just put in that extra hundredth or extra tenth of a second. So it's going to be an absolute cracking year when it comes to the Australian Stock Car Championship. 100%.
We'll have a look at the track notes for you in just a moment, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Johansson, back to you. There are some interesting changes this season. One is selection criteria with regards to catering to as many of the field as possible, because at the end of the day, track density rules over registration. So what have you guys put in place in terms of qualifying procedure to make sure that your regulars and your top contenders from last year get first bite of the cherry?
Well, so what we've got at the moment, Zach, is the first 4 rounds, the top 15 in the championship points from last year, plus the championship winner automatically qualify to the show. And then that leaves the rest of the field, whether it be 27, 30 cars, whatever, the rest of the 40, 60 odd drivers to battle it out. Then at round 4, we change it over and we go to the top 20 in this year's championship, automatically make it. And then everyone else is left to battle it out for the remaining spots.
All right, so at least you know and we know now what the go is going forward, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, the marquee races, including first up, of course, the Anzac Day Memorial Cup, which is coming up on April 23. That will be a huge draw card. Expect a full grid for that one. If what we saw last year is anything to go by, we've got the defending champion of that race in the booth with us. Now, on the subject of tonight, let's have a look at the Australian Stock Car Championship Custom Paints and Diecasts Diamond in the Desert 300 track notes for you. There they are. Las Vegas Motor Speedway is 1.5 miles long. Yes, we're going Imperial, minus the Yankee accents, but that's okay. 200 laps, 300 miles, 50 miles an hour is the pit lane speed limit tonight. They'll start a full tank of 20 gal fuel restriction. 3 to 4 pit stops for these guys throughout the course of the evening. The fuel burn is 0.473 rather of a gallon per lap. So, I mean, just on half a gallon, let's round that up. We're looking at lap 40 before we're going to need to pit on fuel. And that could, I mean, obviously that could drag out with cautions and the like. So it is seemingly possible, Matt Davis. We'll leave the track notes there so you can sink your teeth into them, ladies and gentlemen. We've got a couple of other things we'll have a look at in just a moment. It is seemingly possible, Matt Davis, that they could do this on 4 stops based on what we're seeing there. It wouldn't surprise me, though, if a couple try and do it on 3 with some serious fuel save or fuel save because of cautions. And that's one of the elements that I guess increases with the numbers on the grid. The more there are, the more likely we are to have cautions, creep into the equation, which means the race record could be in a little bit of danger, or on the contrary, it could be well and truly safe tonight, depending upon how it plays out. It could go either way. But 4 pit stops and no tyre limit, interestingly enough. So,
That's
I mean,
make it interesting on those cautions.
100%. So it could be 4 pit stops in terms of fuel, but if you get a caution, you could come in and throw as many sets of rubber as you like. And a lot of these guys will probably do that because one of the tricks of the trade in these oval races is managing your tyres more times than not. And that's where some of the races last year especially were won and lost.
Yeah, 100%. The boys can manage their tyres tonight, which no tyre limit and the thought of a caution being thrown out, expect to see the guys try and go a little bit of balls to the wall, as some people might say, and really hang it out there tonight and burn up those tyres quite a bit. So we'll it's going to be interesting. The cautions may stretch this out. The 2 hours and 14-minute record by Stephen Williams, our last year's race winner, might be in a little bit of danger. I mean, last year's race, we had 6 leaders, 14 lead changes, and 7 cautions. So tonight, Diamond in the Desert 300 could bring just the entertainment we're looking for.
Oh, it certainly could. I'm looking forward to it immensely. 30.38, the benchmark so far from Edward Foster. We are into qualifying, folks. Let's have a look at the track conditions that will be presented to the drivers for the race tonight. 16:50 race start, 5th of March 2022. So we're heading into the evening server time, although 16:50 LA, Las Vegas time isn't until sometime tomorrow, Australian Eastern Daylight Time. We'll do the exact sums for you in just a moment. 70 degrees, that's Fahrenheit, is the air temp. 71 track temp. 17 mile an hour winds, so strong winds tonight in the westerly direction. We are, of course, at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway in Clark County, Nevada, about 15 miles northeast of the Las Vegas Strip. So we're in the right territory if you want to have a punt tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Who wins this one and why, Mark Johansson? I mean, in the mid-pack or wherever you end up qualifying, your main objective will be to stay out of trouble and get to that last round of pit stops. But if you were to put your money on someone other than yourself at the outset here, who would it be?
Oh, you've got to go with the guy that's leading, Ed Foster or Ruben Phelps. Normally goes well here, although there's Daiso, Darren McKenzie's up there in the top 10. Yeah, it's a hard one to pick tonight. Anyone could really win it from anywhere here.
Extremely close at the top end, Zach Haven, as well. I mean, between first and 6, the top 6 are separated by 1/10 of a second. So it's then you stretch back to the top 10 and they're separated by 1/10 and a half.
When you look at the top 28, 0.9 of a second, 0.9 of a second, 0.94 of a second separates the first 29 cars in this field. But as we know so often with these, especially non-restricted plate races and, with these super speedway races, what you will see, well, a lot of below the line running as case in point there on screen just now, but you will also see the field spread out. They won't go at that pace all night. They won't stay bunched up. And that's why things like racecraft, fuel saving, tyre strategy come into play so very much. And we're looking forward to seeing how it'll play out. 42 seconds left in qualifying. We've got a couple of other race facts and stats and information to get through to you throughout the course of the evening. But Mark Johansson, what's the key to staying out of trouble here? Because a field this size, to me, it says we've got a few cautions coming our way tonight, without doubt.
Oh, definitely got a few coming. Just got to bide your time and really just run your own race. Don't get suckered into trying to run with someone early. Try and link up with your teammates and just run your own course. Run the race strategy that the team's worked out, and hopefully be in a good spot at the end.
Indeed, righto.
All right, mate. I'm
sorry.
I'm going to just say thanks everyone, and I'll back down into my team and give us a call up anytime under caution, mate.
All right, mate.
Speed, Mark Johansson. Good luck.
Good luck indeed to Mark Johansson, and good luck to you wherever you're tuning in around Australia. Strap in for the ride. Who have you got? Who have you backing tonight? It's going to be one of those nights at the office. We're looking forward to it immensely. Any one of a number of drivers can win this. We wish you and your favourite driver the best of luck, whoever you're cheering and rooting for.
You the best of luck, Stockhaven.
Oh, wishing you the best of luck, Matt Davis. Everyone else is so excited to have their Saturday dose of stock car racing back. So are we. This is the way they line up for the second round of the Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship. On the front row, it'll be Edward Foster and also Daniel Heddershield. Second row, Ruben Phelps and Josh Carroll Walton. Third row, Brad Newman and Michael Skurlock. Fourth row, Andrew Dyson and Devon Stove. Fifth row, Dion DeGraff and Darren McKenzie, the defending champion. Adam Malone and Stephen Williams from row 6. Matt.
Out of the 7th row, we have Norman Clark and Wayne Van Billion. Out of the 8th row, we've got Jared Farrell and Reese May lining up next to each other. Row 9, we'll see Jamie Nankervis and Dave Douglas. Mark Turner and Carl, is it Nedler or Kendler? That's an interesting, weird name. I believe it'd be Nedler. Making out the 10th row there. Greg Spencer and Brad Allison out of the 11th. Nathan Button and Kobe Jordan out of the 12th.
Tristan Kosh and Raymond Jagger from row number 13. Billy Hickey and Adam Ariel from row 14. Then we get back to Brett Campbell and also a privateer entry in number 113. That's, of course, Brenton Henderson. That's row 15. Row 16 is Justin Allen and Stuart Pedersen. Row 17 is Carl Withy and Mark Johansson. And of course, Carl's no stranger to anyone that was tuning in last week, of course. Then we go back to Steve Hoppett and Scott McClintock from row 18.
19, Mark Smith, Jordan Barry. Row number 20, we'll see Matthew Raymond and Andy Barber line up next to each other. Then Jai Schultz and Nobi Tompkins will round out the field for the Diamond in the Desert 300, ladies and gentlemen. The lights are up on the board. The pace car is about to pull in. Zach Caven, the start of the race is all yours.
Nobi Tompkins, a non-starter at this point, Matt Davis. He's showing up in the server, but not on track. So we'll wait and see how this plays out as we get set to rock and roll, ladies and gentlemen. Oval racing on a Saturday night, back on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. And nice to be back. As they say, the boys are back in town. The band is back together. And Matt Davis and I are rocking and rolling for you for the next 2.5 hours or so. Round they come onto the main straight. Barney's got the green flag in the air, and when he lets that fly, we go racing. The front row, Edward Foster and Daniel Heddershield to bring the field to green. Pace car pulls off into the lane, left it very late to do so, and we're about to unleash 41 cars on the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Here we go. Round 2 of the championship is underway. Lap 1 of 200, side by side on the running to turn 1. Expect a fair bit of this in the early stages as they sort themselves out and try and find their own piece of real estate as they hit the back straight for the first time. Clean start from Daniel Heddershield. He mounts his way ahead of Edward Foster, and he asserts top spot for this point in time. Early running, early doors, and Edward Foster keen to make a race of it early as he comes back down on the inside on the run back to turn 1. And look at the hurry up that Brad Newman and Josh Carroll-Walden are providing. Carroll-Walden into the side, look at that, of Edward Foster, and forcing his way down on the low line. Contact on the top line, one time round in the wall behind that as well. Yellow, first one of the night.
That's a big one. I was watching the front of the field there, Zach Cabe, and I didn't see what happened at the rear, but my timing screen is going all over the place. Drivers dropping down to the back.
Goodness gracious me. Oh, boy. Here's the replay for you, and this will show exactly why we're under caution, ladies and gentlemen. Mark Turner looks as though he might be the one that's got caught up here. There was actually the car on the low line below that got loose as well.
The low line got loose.
Up into the wall. Watch this. 2, 3, bang. Big one.
Bang.
Massive shunt. All sorts of carnage. Plenty of cars involved. Oh boy. And just look at the field scatter everywhere in all of that. So we're going to regroup, reform, and go again. But there are going to be a lot of cars coming to pit road, Matt Davis, and some of them will probably be staying there and park for the night. Darren McKenzie, our defending champion, of course. Carl Needler, Jordan Barry, Mark Turner, Brad Allison, all in pit lane. And it looks as though Allison's night is done.
Yeah, Allison's night looks like it's done. Mackenzie's night might be done by the looks of it as well. Carl Nedler and Jordan Berry back out on track. So they've got whatever the problem was fixed up there. Darren McKenzie still in the pits, 30 seconds to go. So, well, 30 seconds by so far. So I believe the defending champions night is done, and that's not good for championship points either, Zach Caben.
That's exactly right. Remember, every race counts, and Mackenzie's consistency and the fact that he turned up every week was exactly why he was the champion last year. Already a plethora of cars making their way into pit lane. Some of them making the most of the opportunity to top up early, or maybe assess any damage that they may have suffered in that incident. But a good chunk of a quarter of the field already in pit lane, and already 4 retirements. Carl Needler, Jordan Barry, Mark Turner, Brad Allison, done, out, signed, sealed and delivered. We've had 4 retirements on the second lap of the night. We got through the first one okay, but not the second one. Forceful start at the front, Matt Davis. I mean, Daniel Heddershield really made a race of it with Edward Foster. Foster in all of that garbage once JCW sliced his way down on the inside. He ended up getting slotted back to 4th in all of that. Brad Newman was the big winner, up 3 spots in the early stages. Further down the order, Raymond Jaeger. Oh, I tell you what 11 spots already. And also Stuart Patterson, if you don't mind, from 32nd up to 21st. And Andy Barber from 40th up to 26th. And Matthew Raymond as well. And Josh Schultz, both moving up from the back row of the grid into the 28th and 29th position there. So, oh boy, all hell broke loose very early here. Lights out on the safety car. We're going to go green this time by, and we'll hold our breath and cross our fingers and toes that nothing else happens this time by. But the elbows are out early, and that's what you normally find in the new season, Matt Davis. In those first few races, everyone's a little bit, eager and chomping at the bit, and maybe a little bit too keen in some aspects.
Yeah, definitely. It's second round for the season. They're all a bit edgy, wanting to try and make the most of these championship points, and might have to take a ticket out of the old Darren McKenzie book and just try and do the consistency. Top 10s, top 5 finishes. Every race is going to have a different race winner unless we get someone that goes for the clean sweep and and goes back to back to back wins consistently in a row for a good 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 weekends, that's only going to give him a really good booster in the championship points.
Already a few drivers a lap down. Jamie Nankervis, Darren McKenzie still in pit lane. Remember, you get to 50% race distance, you get classified. So that's why those guys are hanging around. Back underway. Beautiful restart from the early race leader, Daniel Heathershield. And look at this, already side by side. That's Josh Carroll Walton and Brad Newman, if you don't mind. Oh, no, Newman's gone!
JCW!
No, JCW, my apologies. I'm so used to JCW running the yellow. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Newman around the outside of Heathershield. What a cracking restart from him. They've let it go green. No yellowers yet. Across the line we go. That's the end of lap 6. And we've had another moment here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. My goodness gracious me. JCW drops 19 positions. He's back in 19th place now. That is quite extraordinary. Edward Foster, on board with him, Matt Davis. This is awesome.
That's twice now that the car's gotten loose out of that corner, Zach Caven. So tyres not up to temp yet.
Caution called.
And the tyres just aren't up to temp yet. They're pushing beyond the car's limits and just going too hard on the right pedal. And here we go. This is a replay. Stuart Patterson on board there. Car's going everywhere once again into the wall.
Yeah, and it's
just getting too loose. Yep, the track's too slick right now. It hasn't rubbered up just yet. They've got to try and get this track running and get it rubbered up before they can start pushing these cars, Zach Caven, because it's now 3 times the cars have gotten loose out of that corner, and turn 4 they've gotten loose by the looks of it.
Exactly right. Oh my goodness gracious me! I don't even know where to start with that. That's just the most extraordinary start. We'll have Mark Johansson come in and have a chat to us once we get into some sort of a rhythm here. But at the moment, we're going to let those guys concentrate on what's going on, because this is just the most extraordinary start here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. It's fast, it's fierce, but it's in short and sharp doses.
You'd almost think
moderation.
You almost think it's dirt track speedway.
Well, yeah, exactly, and you can say that because you've got real-world experience to prove it, and to justify the statement. But we're in short, sharp drabs at the moment, and that's not going to help settle these guys into a rhythm, because with restarts, cautions breed cautions. The elbows get out. Everyone wants to race. Everyone wants to settle themselves into a rhythm and find their own piece of real estate and track position. And we're just not getting far enough into the green flag run to be able to do that at this point in time. Into the pit lane, JCW, Norman Clark, Dave Douglas. So that's just 3 of the cars that have made their way in this time by. Andy Barber, Stuart Patterson, Scott McClintock, Jay Schultz, Billy Hickey, Brenton Henderson, Jamie Nankervis, and Darren McKenzie still in pit lane from their earlier altercation. They were caught up in the first incident. Not sure if all those guys were caught up in that second incident, Matt Davis, but fairly certain that anyone that was caught up in the first incident that wasn't able to clear all their damage repair have come in to top that up and just try and get the car back to 100% fitness.
Well, that's I guess one good thing about the cautions for these guys is if they are supporting that little bit of damage, they can come in, quickly get back out before they go a lap down, make up some time, and wait again. Maybe if it's a 3-4 lap safety car, they can quickly dive back in, grab another few seconds of vital repairs, dart back out again. If they can just top up this, hang off the back of the pack, maintain that pace with the pack as well, we could see by the end of the race not have 100% working race car, but 90% fixed enough that it's going to make them competitive to slowly work their way up through the field through the slower cars.
So we reset and we regroup and we go again. Lap 10 of 200. So we're only 5% of the way there, ladies and gentlemen. We've had our second caution of the night. Half the field almost in trouble in the opening stages here. Everyone from, exactly half the field. Everyone from 21st back has already visited the pit lane at least once. So that might set the tone for a tough night at the office. Also important to note, no tyre limit tonight, but there is strong talk within the paddock that tyre limits may be reintroduced, which will again put the onus on the drivers to look after their tyres and maintain them throughout the course of these races. But at the moment, it doesn't matter how hard they flog them, Matt Davis. top-ups are waiting at every single pit stop. So some of those guys will use that to their advantage tonight.
Yeah, definitely, especially with all these cautions coming out. I mean, drivers will be trying to do a bit of fuel saving here to extend that pit lap time. But again, it comes down to the tyres. It's if they can dart in and grab tyres whenever they want, they're definitely going to be doing it.
Oh boy! So we go around behind the caution, the course car to complete lap 10. I think you'll find that yellow flag will be raised in the air this time by, which will mean that we'll get lights out on the safety car and back to the lane he will come.
There they go.
And there we go. And we will get underway at the start of lap 12. Hope you're enjoying Saturday Night Motorsport on the platforms, the Sim Shed broadcasting all around Australia. Nice to have you along for the ride. Zach Cave and Matt Davis in the commentary box. Our flash to the updated graphics look on our screen. There
Oh,
thanks
absolute
to
cracker.
the mastermind that is JP himself. And he's punching the buttons behind the scenes again for us tonight. No, I didn't just say that for a pay rise, ladies and gentlemen. I genuinely meant it. The graphics package looks fantastic. Of course, last year you'll notice that it was predominantly orange and blue. This year, red, blue. So actually, all of a sudden, I'm starting to think that JP might be a closet Melbourne Demons, or actually, that might be you, Matt.
I
Davis.
won't be. I won't
yes.
be complaining if there is a Melbourne Demons supporter in the
Or
booth with us tonight.
or obviously, if you want to put an NRL swing on it, the Newcastle Knights. Either or, take your pick. Getting set for a restart here. So Brad Newman found his way to the front. Edward Foster still hanging there. Andrew Dyson, Daniel Heddershield, he'll want to get back up to where he was at the start of the night. Of course, he raced Edward Foster in the opening laps there, then tucked back in. Can we get more than 2 laps before a caution strikes? Can we settle into a rhythm here? Look at that. What a restart from Newman. Drops the foot on the throttle and floors it and goes and checks out. Spread eagles.
What a start.
That is brilliant. He wanted clear air. He's found clear air, and it's catch me if you can. Brilliant restart from Newman. Now, can they get through cleanly? So far, so good. Lap 12 of 200. The Diamond in the Desert. 300 for you from Las Vegas Motor Speedway as they cross the line to complete lap 12. And we've had a clean run and everyone's somewhat settling into a single file formation here across the line in the first 10, maybe 11 places in this field, but the screens still lit up, the timing screens still lit up, orange and yellow, and they will be for some time. Leader is nearly half a second clear as they stretch down the back straight for the second time in this stint, the third green flag run of the motor race. Jared Farrell, we're being told, has had an off-track excursion, but we're still under green for the moment. And that's exactly the point, Matt Davis. We won't always get a yellow. If these drivers are far enough off the circuit on the inside, we won't get a caution straight away. But if they bounce back either on the outside wall into the circuit or off the inside wall back onto the circuit, that's when the yellows trigger and that's when the caution flies.
Yeah, they've got a little bit of runoff room. I mean, there's not much runoff room at 300 kilometres an hour. So they've got a little bit of work to do to pull these cars up and try and keep them out of the walls. But Jared Farrell in the pits now, so he's managed to limp it back into the pits where we've still green on the racetrack as well. The longest green flag stint we have gone so far since the start of the race. Yes. And Brad Newman sets the fastest lap so far of a 30.42, ladies and gentlemen. So he is absolutely flying out to 0.6 of a second now, a lead over Edward Foster and Daniel Heddershield.
And it's like anything. And I'm thinking, racing where slipstream is king. So to use slower cars as an example, Formula V, Mazda MX-5s and the like. And I say that purely because that's what I've been commentating with the Gentleman Sim Racing Club in recent weeks. The fact of the matter is that when you're used to tight-knit, close bunch pack racing like this, a buffer 5 to 6 tenths of a second is as good as gold. And then you can use that to your advantage to slowly but surely creep away as long as you can maintain your speed. And that's what we will probably see from Brad Newman unless Ed Foster has something to say of it. Here goes the battle for third. Dyson and Heddershield. Round turn 1. Heddershield the outside. Heddershield, I should say, not L.
Well, there is no L. Thank you very much, JP, for picking that up.
Yeah, exactly. And also Andrew Dyson. And Heddershield goes through into third place as Dyson slots back into fourth at this point in time. So Heddersheed made a statement early in the race by mounting a challenge on Ed Foster early in the piece. Now he's right back on Foster's tail, but the man they've got to catch is the early pace setter in Brad Newman.
Very big movers so far as well. Matty Raymond up 19 positions from the back of the field. Now sits 20th, Zach Caven. So he's a very big mover. JCW, after his earlier crash out as well, he's found his way back to 12th position. Currently 8 spots down from where he started, but in a better position from where he was earlier on after that spin. So JCW has made up a little bit of time and on the hunt back to the race lead. Last lap 31.22, so not too far off the leader's pace so far.
Exactly right. There are the three cars in the battle for second, third, and fourth at the moment. And Dyson not letting those front two get too far away at this point in time. The man they've got to catch is Newman. They're slowly but surely clawing that back. Foster's the right man to do the chasing here. He's within half a second as they cross the line. Another lap in the books. We start lap 20, so we'll be at 10% race distance. 50% is, of course, 100 laps. That'll be halfway. That'll be where everyone that gets past that mark will earn themselves some championship points, unless Mark Johansson's changed another regulation in the off-season that I'm not aware of. But 50%, of course, was good enough to justify rewarding some championship points or awarding some championship points last season. If that's still the case in 22, I'm happy. 21 of 200. Now you're watching the second round of the Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship, the Diamond in the Desert 300. We go on board now with Raymond Jaeger, and he's down on Jaeger, I should say. He's down on the inside. We've got a Jaeger and a Jaeger, don't we? So, yeah. So he's down on the inside now, and that is, of course, on Josh Carroll Walden, trying to get by into 12th place. As good as job done with the inside line on the run to one, and he's got it done.
Yep,
JCW wants to hang tough on the outside and force the issue as they go across the line. And he'll still hang there and under brakes. Well, is there much braking around here? I'm not sure.
A little bit of a lift, but JCW got a little bit loose on that top line. You watch the car just squirm a little bit as he tries to go around the outside of Raymond. Drag race down the back straight into 3 and 4.
This is fantastic stuff, isn't it? JCW hanging there, forcing the issue and making the high line work. That's the beauty of stock car racing. There's no one line. 2 or 3 different lines will work depending upon the driver throughout the course of the night. At the moment, JCW making the high line work to his advantage. But Raymond's down there on the low line trying to force the issue and trying to make JCW work for it. And work for it, JCW did. He holds on to 12th.
Raymond just couldn't quite get the grip underneath JCW there and tried to go for a couple laps side by side and tried to make the move work to try and float back up and take the high line off JCW, but burning up too much tyre by the looks of it and just decides to pluck back in behind JCW, get him back into the slipstream, save a bit more fuel as Newman has a bit of a slide coming out of turn 2, right up against the wall.
And that's an interesting point you make, Matt Davis, about the tyre wear, because one thing that will have changed now is where the goalposts lie as far as the first pit stop window is concerned. Because we spent so many laps under caution in the first 15, the amount of fuel they've been able to save, that window will be pushed back. So it won't be around that 41 lap marker. It could be, it could be as far back as 50 laps or something like that. And if that's the case, all of a sudden, anyone that was talking maybe 3-stopping this race, they might be in the conversation depending upon how many more cautions we get in the final 3 quarters of this thing. But in saying that as well, we're only an eighth of the way through the race. Have a look at this on the outside, Edward Foster, and on the inside, Daniel Heddersheed. Heddersheed trying to get by Foster on the inside. This is interesting.
Newman as Foster and Newman are going at it now.
No, I think we've picked up a different battle there, actually.
Oh, no.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was Foster and Newman. Yeah, that was for the lead right there. So they've reeled Newman back in.
Jeez, they have reeled him back in. We were focusing on third and second. Now, all of a sudden, we're settling our eyes on first and second across the line. There goes, down on the inside.
Foster on the inside.
Foster to the lead on the inside of Newman. Job done. Can he hold it? Out of one, Newman forces the issue and fights back on the high line, side by side. Foster doesn't want to give it up that easily and holds on the inside line. Oh, Las Vegas turning it on a Saturday night. We're up 27 at 200. Foster finds his way to the front. Across the strike we go. Newman's going to lead him at the strike. That's important to note because the run off the final corner on lap 200 could make or break this thing. And knowing that Newman has that muscle on Foster, and now they've got the extra added issue of lap traffic to contend with, that is going to be so critical come lap 200. What line's going to work best for each driver here, and whether the high line is going to be good enough to get the job done the end of the night. Back we go. Picking up some more battles throughout the field here. JCW working his way back.
Newman. One thing, I'll just quickly go back to the Newman topic there, Zach Gaiman. One thing I did notice, once he got around a lap car, he darted back up against the wall, got behind another lap car, got that little bit of slipstream over Ed Foster and was able to skip away by just a couple hundredths of a second and give himself that bit of an advantage leading into the next corner. So JCW and Jaeger, though, still battling it out.
Well, it's interesting that you've got 2 4-car battles. You've got the battle for 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, then the battle for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th. Then there's a battle for 9th, 10th, 11th, then these guys. And Jaeger's got his nose in front of JCW. Now they swap around. We go on board with Adam Malone there in 15th position. He's all over the back of Greg Spencer at this point. They head towards turn 1. Lap 30 at 200. See, now that we're into a long, steady green flag run, these guys are slowly but surely sorting themselves out, and the pace is intensifying, and therefore the laps are clocking over rather quickly. As we say, it was 31.26 by the line last time for Newman. Foster down on the inside, looking to go back to the lead, and does so, but not for long. Newman fights back on the outside, nose in front as they come out of 2. Down the back straight. Too early to be getting involved in any argy-bargy. Foster content to sit back in for the moment, but for how long? Oh, this is good pace early on. Good fight. But, so, Matt Davis, we can easily talk about the fuel burn and the fuel run being pushed back a few laps here. But the key determinant now is, are these guys going to jump when, you know, one of their opponents within their battle group here jumps because of the, well, there's no limit on tyres issue, no harm, no foul, let's just get in and freshen up and go our hardest?
Oh, it's going to be a tricky one here, Zach Caban. It's going to be really, really tough, especially these top 4 drivers right now, Newman, Foster, Heddersheet, and Dyson, when they go to make the jump. Newman's got to be careful as well because Foster's that close up onto him at the moment, and same with the rest of them, that he could drop spots depending on how much fuel they take. Do you take a full load of fuel? Do you take maybe a couple litres less just to chop that 100th or couple 100 tenths of a second off of your pit stop time to be able to get that little bit of an extra jump and hope that a caution comes out to come in and grab some fresh tyres and a top up of fuel at the same time. So it's going to be very interesting.
Couple of insights coming through on social media. Kipper of 001 saying, enjoying the broadcast. Keep up the good work. Good on you, mate. Thanks for tuning in and enjoying a Saturday night with us. Sean McNamara, a good mate of ours from the RSRA Super Series.
William James as well. Shout out to you as well, mate, for using an RSRA driver as well.
Exactly.
And,
I was going to say McNamara's comment. Yep, 100%. McNamara's comment was felt by everybody. Ouch. That was in relation to both incidents 1 and 2. Oh, dear. 35 gone. The Diamond in the Desert 300 from the Las Vegas Motor Speedway.
You got to try and not cough that up either. You keep going to say diamond in the rough. It just rolls off the tongue. It's diamond in the desert.
It does. It does, and it catches me out every time, Matt Davis, but not as much as the tongue twister that is the naming rights sponsor. Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship. Try saying that 3 times fast, ladies and gentlemen. Exactly. Round onto the main straight. Great to have Custom Paints and Diecasts on board, though, for 2022.
I reckon crank up the volume next time round, Zach Caban. What do you think?
I think that's a very good idea,
See how Brad Newman's handling the pressure between Ed Foster, Andrew Dyson, and Daniel Heddersheet. And mind you, in between all that talk, Andrew Dyson's got Daniel Heddersheet.
He certainly does. Into third place. In fact, it wouldn't be a bad idea to go rear view here with our race leader Newman, just to keep an eye on that battle for second, third and fourth, because they're all trying to keep this guy on his toes, and they're doing a nice job of it at the moment. For the first time, as far as we're involved in 2022 is concerned, ladies and gentlemen, crank up the volume and enjoy stock cars in full flight. How good's your Saturday night motorsport sounding, ladies and gentlemen? NASCAR's in full flight. The Australian Stock Car Championship for you, wherever you're tuning in around Australia. Zach Cave and Matt Davis with you in central commentary as we head back onto the main straight. And once again, Matt Davis, that top four, floor, I should say. Geez, the tongue is tied tonight. The top four showing us how it's done, and they haven't let one another go here. This is a race in at the moment, and it just goes to show that what I said at the top of the night, where there's multiple drivers that are, in contention here, rings true. 43 laps in, these guys have not let up. They're keeping each other honest.
Yeah, definitely. Andrew Dyson's starting to look really racy now. He's got past header sheet. Now putting the pressure on Foster as they come up in a small lap traffic. And here we are. Foster's having a look on the inside of Newman as well. They might push him through wide if Dyson gets a good run. But Dyson might just hang back a little bit, see what these two have to play. He's been watching them dice for quite a number of laps now. There's a little bit of contact on Newman from Foster. Then Foster goes into the lead through 4.
I told you the elbows would be out. I didn't think it'd be this
early.
early.
Out of 4, and he beats him to the line.
It's only lap 45.
That's going to be the run there. That's the run there for the final lap, Zach Caben.
Exactly. And we've already seen that once or twice tonight. We're on lap 45. We're just past 20%. We're not quite quarter of the way there. And the elbows are out. The stakes are high. Imagine what it's going to be like if we get a green-white checker. Just let that sink into your mind at this point in time, ladies and gentlemen, and maybe whet the appetite for a little bit more of this as the night rolls on. Sun starting to set there in Las Vegas. And look at these two, Foster and Newman, going at it, hammer and tong, in close pursuit. Dyson and Heddersheet as they come back through turn 2.
Everybody wants to be the winner in the city that never sleeps, Zach Caven. And Foster's proving that he wants it more right now.
Actually, how good would it be? I mean, now that international borders and things are starting to open up, once you meet all your terms and conditions and so on and so forth, Matt Davis, how nice would it be to actually go and just commentate in Las Vegas? Whether you were at the casino or the racetrack, either or would be good.
Oh, it'd be pack up the sim shed from everybody on all parts of
Yeah.
Australia, fly over and commentate this from a hotel room. And, oh, how good would that be? And then go out for the night on the town in the city that never sleeps. As Newman gets caught up on a little bit of lap traffic here. This allows Foster to fly up down the inside. Dyson right there behind them as well. Foster into the lead, Newman back to the lead, Foster to the lead, Newman to the lead. This is never going to stop it. Newman takes another lap in the books as leader.
Oh, not much in that, Matt Davis. They are rubbing pedals down. Come on. Newman compromised there on the high line. Foster goes into the lead. And into second goes Dyson. Heddersheet wants a piece of the action as well. And now Dyson has a sniff at the lead. Lap 48 at 200. Newman fighting back on the inside. On Heaslow's side there is Heddersheet. This is fantastic. Lap 48. These guys haven't visited pit road yet. We expected that. But sometime in the next short while, something's got to give. Through turn 1 we go again. Newman gets down on the inside of Dyson. Back to second he goes. Whoa! Up comes Foster to defend himself on Dyson. Dyson gives him a push. Through into turn 3 they go. We almost lost Heddersheet there for a moment. Onto the main straight. Oh, this is fantastic. Look at lap traffic latching on, wanting a piece of the action, getting his 5 seconds of fame. Magnificent. They are 7 seconds clear of fifth.
Dyson.
They are 7 seconds clear of the next car on track, positional-wise, Matt Davis. So it is a race in 4. Newman and Heddersheet
touch.
And now
Newman down the inside of Dyson.
Whoa.
How about
that,
this?
in the meanwhile, Matt Davis is allowing Foster to get nice and comfortable at the front end of town. What a race distance has come and gone. Oh.
Isn't this racing? Newman back in the second, got around Dyson and shuts the door on him. Dyson looks to the outside of Newman again. Heddersheet floating out the back. Wait to see the carnage unfold. Newman back to the lead around Foster.
There you go. And Foster pushes him up high as well. Wants to come back on the low line. Can't quite get it done. There goes Dyson up on his outside, getting the toe. The slipstream opportunity for Newman, if you don't mind. Now it's Foster pushing Newman through 1, and Dyson hung out to dry. Notice how they're taking different lines through 1, 2, and then 3, 4. For Newman, a totally different way through each corner is working for him as opposed to Foster. Now Foster senses his opportunity to go to the lead again. Geez, how many lead changes can you have in the opening 52 laps? These guys are going at it as though it's the last 52 laps. This is fantastic. Can they keep this intensity up all night long? The evidence based on what we've seen thus far is yes. Newman, Foster, side by side. I love racing at Las Vegas. This is fantastic stuff. A little bit of a touch, a little bit of a niggle. Down to turn 3. Up high goes the blue car of Foster, the championship leader. Now he tucks back in on Newman. So yellow leads blue, leads orange, leads red. Across the line we go. 54 of 200. And first round of pit stops only moments away.
Heddersheet around the top of Dyson. Gonna drop Dyson back to another spot, back down to 4th. Look at the proximity of racing, Zach Caven. It's door to door the whole way round. That'd be either touching the bumpers or touching doors.
Now, here's one for you, Matt Davis. We mentioned 20 gal at the top of the broadcast as the fuel restriction for these guys, and we mentioned the burn was .473 a lap. Given that we spent 7 laps under caution, it is extraordinary that they are still out on the circuit, because 7 gets you to 49 from 42, and these guys are on lap 55. The fuel burn, if you divide .473 by, or 20 by .473 is 42.28. So these guys must be on the save as well as on the limit. I don't know how they're doing it, but they are getting some extraordinary numbers here. And the further they can run under the green flag, and look at that, Foster's just been gobbled up. Foster's been gobbled up. Drew goes head of sheet to third, Dyson to second, Newman's still the leader. Newman did balk Foster. There was a little bit of gamesmanship in that so early in the piece. The longer these guys can go, the closer we are to entertaining the conversation of a 3 pit stop race as opposed to expected 4. But a caution at the right time changes everything, or a caution at the wrong time changes everything. And also, they've got to act on what's going on around them. This is one of those nights where you don't want to be a sitting duck and zagging when everybody else zigs, because you've got unrestricted tyre limits in the pit lane, so you can just go in and chuck rubber at it. You've got to race according to what those around you are doing, or otherwise you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, definitely. You've really got to be on the ball right now. And coming into the pit window, it's top. You got JCW, he's already been in the pits, he's in 11th. But the top 10 still yet to pit. Raymond Jager, Reese May, Greg Spencer, the likes of them down to 16th of Nathan Button. They're still yet to pit. Obviously, everyone else has taken some form of pit stop due to damage. Obviously, might have grabbed a little bit of fuel as well during that pit stop. So you could see them run on just that little bit longer. But these guys, after these couple of cautions that we've had, really going to try stretch the winners. I reckon lap 65, Zach Caven, look for these guys to start diving down into the pits, I reckon.
Maybe just a tad sooner. We'll wait and see. It's extraordinary fuel save under the safety car, isn't it? I mean,
to go at these pace, I mean, last lap, 31.36, that's quick.
And pole time was only about a second up the road from that. So they are racing along at a very good tempo as they come back onto the main straight. So there's lap 59 in the books. We start lap 60. We're watching Newman lead by 0.23 from Dyson, Heddersheed, and also Foster. DeGraff is fifth, ahead of Skurlock, Phelps, and Wilson.
Back.
But the problem is, you can't, there are battles happening right throughout the pack, not dissimilar to what we're seeing at the front, but how can you take your eyes off the battle for the lead? Newman by 3-4 car lengths over Dyson, who bobbles and gets down below lap traffic there to not open the door up to Heddersheed, and around they come again, as you say. Oh, Newman's ducked down
there goes Newman.
early. He's pulled the trigger. He's gone. At the end of lap 60, onto lap 61 we go. Dyson, Heddersheed, Foster half a second back, but not without a chance. He plays a smart game, does Edward Foster. Expect him to be right in the mix when we get to lap 190, into that last 10 laps, which is going to be, if the current ferocity and tempo is anything to go by, it's going to be fierce and fast and hotly contested as they come back around again. So an early jump down the order for Brad Newman as the rest of the field cross the start-finish line to start lap 62. Newman goes a lap down, but he'll get that back when these guys eventually come in and complete their stop.
Saw Dyson there just ducked down onto the apron, try and gain just a little bit over Heddersheed. The other boys have been running that mid to high line across the start-finish line there, and obviously Dyson and Heddersheed have been running the same line as Newman and Foster just to gain that slipstream behind them. And you see Dyson now just trying to shake it up just a little bit on the race line there and drop down to the bottom apron to try and get away from Heddersheed, and it's working slowly. He's out to 0.4 of a second over Heddersheed. Edward Foster, though, dropped back a lot more than what we thought he may have. He's now down to just over half a second. So Foster might be in a little bit of trouble here on tyres, and maybe either fuel saving and trying to get the length out of this run here before he stops, or his tyres are definitely starting to fade away.
Lap 64 or 200. And the smart cookies in this game, Matt Davis, they will conserve their tyres as much as they can, and that's a big factor here in these races. We've seen tyre delamination and deterioration determine.
Heddersheed, Foster in.
Yep. So they pull the trigger now as Dyson goes on to that critical 65 Oh no, there's a crash. Daniel Hedershed on the entry to pit lane. He's come unstuck. Let's have a look at this. Oh no. Caught the bump and then, and that's triggered the caution because of where he parked in the middle of the circuit, and that's going to help out Andrew Dyson enormously. It's not going to help out Hedershed because he's dropped a bunch of spots and still hasn't completed that compulsory pit stop. But the field's going to bunch up. We've got caution number 3. Foster gets a get out of jail free card. And my goodness gracious me, it's just another one of those moments that'll go down as a talking point tonight, Matt Davis. We went 50 laps almost, 45, 50 laps without the caution returning. Now we've got number 3 at an interesting time, given where we were with regards to those that had pitted, those that hadn't, and those that hadn't are now desperately trying to get around this racetrack on the small, minuscule amount of fuel they've got left until that pit window opens before they, unless they want to come in earlier and compromise themselves by getting an end-of-line penalty for doing so. So there's a lot to play out in the next couple of laps.
Definitely is a lot to play out. I mean, it's going to be a flurry of cars on the pit lane, which there it is now. Andrew Dyson now pits. Dion DeGraff follows him in, Michael Skurlock. So this is going to allow the boys that have pitted, I think it was Newman that pitted first up out of this whole leader pack, might allow Newman just to creep up on Dyson here and get around him. But also, as you see, Adam Ariel, Carl Whitley, Kobe Jordan, they're all still out at the moment. So all the guys that have pitted once already this race with a good amount of fuel, as you see Newman go past there, and this is going to give them a bit of an advantage on the race start.
So you were right on one thing, Matt Davis, as Mark Johansson joins us in the booth now. And Mark, we didn't bother moving you up in the first 2 cautions because not enough of the race had unfolded for us to get a gauge of what was going on. But now that we're 67 laps in, how are you positioned and what do you make of what you've seen thus far?
Mate, I'm in a terrible position. I'm down at 29th. I think I'm 2 laps down. But this caution's come out at the right time for me. I'm just about on vapors in the tank. But yeah, just guys pushing that too early again. Just not letting the heat get in the tyres.
Breaking news in the world of Formula One for you too, ladies and gentlemen, just while we interrupt normal programming. Haas will part ways with Nikita Mazepin with immediate effect. Oh, jeez.
That's big news.
I mean, look, I said it on air this morning on West Bromwich Radio. I'm going to say it again here, Matt Davis. What is unfolding, and I don't like to get political this early in the evening, but what's unfolding in the Ukraine at the moment is, beyond reprehensible. It is disgusting and disgraceful in so many respects. But at the same time, the Russians that are innocent bystanders in this because of the way in which their government is behaving, not them. The innocent Russians that are getting caught up in this is collateral damage. It's just really disappointing to see, and it's impacting sport in many ways. Nikita Mazepin's just one of them.
Yeah, it's just a bit unfortunate, and it goes not just it stretches beyond the motorsport world as well. It's stretching into the governments now. It's a little bit disheartening to see what is going on in this world at the moment. I mean, look, there's not much you can really do about it. Unfortunately, everything's going to play its own course with what's going on at the moment, and it's just now it's stretching into the motorsport world of F1, and it's I really don't have much to say about it because it's just I'm completely speechless about it.
Exactly. Now, Mark Johansson, as we get set for a restart here, mate, as you say, you're buried down the order at the moment, showing in 28th on our screen. The top 22 still showing on the lead lap, but important to note, Brad Newman, Edward Foster, Jay Schultz, and Reese Mayer, 19th, 20th, 21st, and 22nd. Long way back from there for Foster. Obviously, the order is a little bit lopsided because of where the caution fell and the fact that we had a good bulk of the field had completed their pit stop, some hadn't. It's going to make this next stanza of the race rather interesting. The intensity is magnificent. It's fierce, it's fast, it's frenetic, but the carnage in the opening stages was quite extraordinary as well.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, Zach, just guys trying to get onto it too early, just not giving tyres a chance to warm up. You know, you need to allow about 5 or 6 laps with these things to get heating the tyres, heating the brakes.
Did say it earlier on at the start there, Zach Haven, that it did look slick out of 3 and 4. So it just goes to show that the drivers were trying to take their time in, or weren't taking their time in trying to get the temperature up into these tyres. And Mark Johansson's hit the nail right on the head there. Mark, about to go back racing now, so we'll let you get back to the pits as Andrew Dyson gets the field underway for the final time. So we farewell Mark Johansson for the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, and let him get back to the team. Andrew Dyson leads them away off the restart. The third one for this race. I've lost Zach Haven just very, very briefly, ladies and gentlemen. But Andrew Dyson gets the jump over Michael Skurlock and Dion DeGraaf. Ruben Phelps just gets pipped there by JCW. JCW now with a nice little comeback thanks to this caution flag that we have had. He's now got himself back up into 5th position. Stephen Williams, last year's race winner, up into 6th. Daniel Sheed has found himself in not a bad position as well after that little spin, sitting in 7th. Devon Stove and Greg Spencer, Adam Malone, rounding out your top 10 so far, ladies and gentlemen.
No, you hadn't lost me at all, Matt Davis. I just thought, down on the low line.
Big slide by Skurlock.
And there's another caution.
Oh, is that JCW?
That's another caution. JCW's in trouble in all of that. He's plummeting down the order, down to 21st position. We have our 4th caution of the night. Oh, boy.
Oh, I lost it. Too loose. Too loose.
Oh, wow. That's the second time tonight we're seeing JCW in a bit of strife here.
I mean, I didn't see too many locking of. Ah, there we go. There's another incident as well further on down the track leading up into turn 3 there, Zach Haven. Cars going around everywhere. So I don't think JCW may have brought out the caution on that one. I think it might have been from another driver further up on the field. But definitely just pushing too hard on those cold tyres. It's coming into 3 and 4 there. It's just very, very slippery, especially through 3. Getting on the loud pedal too soon. And he was having a good run as well, Zach Caban. He found himself back up into 5th position after dropping all the way back down into the back of the pack. And now look at him, he's all the way back down in the back again for the second time this race. And he's got a lot of driving to make up.
Now, in saying all that, Matt Davis, second time tonight where we've seen a short, sharp, brief stint between 2 caution periods. So there's something about safety cars, breeding safety cars, ringing very true here tonight.
And it's not even Bathurst.
Cold tyres, pressure, high stakes, all that sort of stuff. Early in the season, we know that that occasionally means nutting out some gremlins. You're seeing the lucky dog overtake unfold there at the moment, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that we are so close to everyone having just come in and topped up and got back on strategy means that we may not see too much pit activity this time round, apart from those that sustained damage. Reese May, Mark Smith, Jake Schultz have come into the lane, not many others. So we'll wait and see how all that plays out. You're watching the Diamond in the Desert 300, the Custom Paint and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Saturday Night Motorsport for the first time in March and the first time in autumn. Nice to have you along for the ride. Don't forget to come and join us the week starting March 21, 22, or SimShed Broadcasting's exclusive coverage of the RSRA Super Series Term 1 of, well, 3. We do it the way that Tasmania does it. Turn 1 of 3 for 2022, and looking forward to that immensely. That will be a heck of a lot of fun. Matt Davis and I with you on a Tuesday night. Matt Davis, Dean Reddit with you on a Monday night. And that's the big change. The entree leads into the main course, not the main course going first into the entree. The Super 2s are going to lead things off each and every Monday night. And then the big baby, the Super Series, rocking and rolling every Tuesday night for you from
Oh, I'm
8:20
looking
p.m.
forward
Australian
to it.
Eastern Daylight Time most weeks. And then, of course, when we switch back to Queensland rejoining Progressive Civilization, it'll be 8:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time. Looking forward
So
to that.
it's not you guys joining Civilization. We
Yeah.
go back and join the ancient history.
Oh, no. As long as we're on the same time zone, we get 6 months of Progressive Civilization a year. Let me enjoy that, would you please? So I'm looking forward to 5 weeks' time when the clocks go back in New South Wales. I never thought I'd say that, but being up here and literally having slow and steady wins the race is a motto by which these people spend their summer. It's getting very old and tired on me, I must say. Now, we're getting set for another start here. And we're lights still on the safety car, so we're going to go around one more time. So we'll get to third, 3/8 race distance this time by anyone taking the bite of the cherry to come down pit lane, not by the look of it. We're all behind the safety car now. What's going to be interesting here, Matt Davis, is Andrew Dyson is at the front. That's understandable. Header Sheed, the next best of those 4 that were in the group that dominated proceedings at the top end of town at the start of the night. He's 4th. Ruben Phelps has moved up into 5th place. We're looking down the order to find
Brad Newman in
Dave
16th.
Douglas in 10th. Yep. Tristan Koch in 13th. There's another name that was regular to us last year. Brad Newman 16th, and then Edward Foster 17th. So those two already making their way back through the field, but they've got a long way to go to catch Andrew Dyson. It's almost as though Dyson's been given a free kick.
Yeah, Dyson scored probably the luckiest break of the race so far. Having Hideshi have a little bit of a fumble coming onto pit road there. So Hideshi saw the caution, came back out, waited for everybody to come into the pits and for pit lane to open, and didn't lose too many positions by the looks of it. He's found himself back into 4th position. So whether he stayed out or not, I'm not sure. But he's definitely caught a lucky break there, and Dyson leading the field away. Might be able to get a bit of a break over these guys, try and find some clean air, find a groove, as we watch in the foreground there, ladies and gentlemen. The sun's definitely well and truly gone. The night sky starting to roll in. The lights are ablaze around the Texas Motor Speedway. Andrew Dyson's got the front of the field under control. Zach Caban lead it away.
Back underway here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Round 2 of the championship, sunsetting in Nevada. And at the front of the field, it is Andrew Dyson leading the way. And he's already got 3 car lengths on next best. But Michael Skurlock will want to go with him and force the issue in this next stint as they head down the back straight. Round they go. Lap 76 of 200.
Dyson to the bottom apron. That's something new there, Zach Caban. Watching Dyson drop down onto the apron under race pace has obviously worked for him. You skipped out over Skurlock by nearly half a second there, so it's something the other boys might have to look at and might maybe follow him down there.
Lap 78 of 200. The race is on at the front of the field. Let's take this opportunity, ladies and gentlemen, to keep an eye on Daniel Hedesheed there. Of course, so much of the front running in the early stages was done by Hedesheed, the 035. He's in close pursuit of Dion de Graaf at the moment. Stephen Williams is 5th, and then Ruben Phelps is 6th, Devon Stove in 7th. But it's a race in... it's a race in 10 at the moment, but we know that this logjam of cars will eventually branch out as they make their way round. As they slowly but surely ease back into the swing of things, Matt Davis, after 2 back-to-back cautions.
Yeah, Wed Foster's found himself in 18th now. He's lost out on a couple spots. Brad Newman, though, only after 4 laps of racing, inside the top 10. And you should be able to see him in the background there. There he is, the yellow car just behind Heddersheed, as Andrew Dyson now sets the fastest lap of the race at 30.39. He's definitely trying to check out. Brad Newman had the fastest lap of the race at a 30.42, ladies and gentlemen. That was set on the 5th, would have been actually the 12th lap after that many cautions. But Andrew Dyson, pedal to the metal. He's dropped the hammer and he has bolted from down to Graf. 1.7 seconds. Dion is behind Andrew Dyson, ladies and gentlemen. He's definitely checked out and trying to make a name at the city that never sleeps in the desert. Or the dime in the desert 300.
We're winding our way through the night in Las Vegas. We're edging closer to the halfway mark here, 82 or 200. It's nice to have you along for the ride. And keeping our eyes on the top end of town as well as the mid-pack. Battles left, right and centre off the restart as there always are. Good to see. And strategy now going to play an interesting part in all of this, Matt Davis, because yet again, 2 back-to-back cautions and the fuel saving that would have gone on there means that we're edging closer to the possibility of getting through this race on 3 fuel top-ups only. Maybe they'll end up with a 4 for tyres only. But on fuel, they're edging closer.
Yeah, we're looking at maybe possibly a 4 still. A 3 is a very high possibility, but I reckon 4 is going to be the safest bet at the moment, especially tonight. With the way that everything has been panned out. I mean, lap 83, second round so far. I'd definitely say 4 for the safer minor things, as you said, with tyres, but 3 definitely regarding the fuels. We've got a few comments here on the socials as well to catch up on to Zach Caban. So,
yellow's out, Matt Davis.
Yellow's out again, and as I was just about to say, Steve Hoppett, the cars are very loose and give the track the impression of being slippery. So, obviously, Steve Hoppett there is letting us a bit of an insight as Bill Hickey has a tank slapper up into the wall under the NASCAR sign, and Zach Caban says, ladies and gentlemen, whooshka.
That car will be toast for the night now, Matt Davis. He may as well park that. That's not getting back out there, I wouldn't think. That was a heavy hit, a big hit on the front end. And we've got our 5th caution of the night. We're not even halfway, ladies and gentlemen. What did we have last year? 7 cautions in 200 laps. So we've already
had 7 in 85.
Yeah. Wow, we've had, this is number 5 already in 85. So.
Oh, there we go.
Take a breath and hold on. Abigail Foster pointing out Ed's had a bit of panel work done on that car as well, so that might be explaining why Foster's a little bit down at this point. But don't rule him out at the back end of the night. He can find a way back into this. He always seems to. We'll wait and see. Long race, heaps of time to come back was the comment from Neil Pearson. That's very true as well. Cars making their way into pit lane, taking the opportunity to come in behind the safety car. Yep, Newman is one of those. So whether this is strategic or not, want to throw a fresh set of boots at it, I'm not sure. Also pointing out too here, as you said, Matt Davis, Steve's comment about these cars being very loose, giving the track the impression of being slippery. Well, I mean, the other thing that we want to take into consideration with that is every time we run under caution, they've got to warm the tyres back up again because the tyres get an opportunity to get a little bit of a reprieve to cool down. So there's that element in it as well.
Yes, yeah, definitely. It's really hard. It's not unlike the supercars. I mean, you don't see them weaving as much. I mean, you see it in the real life where they are weaving around the NASCAR circuit, trying to get that heat into the tyres and try and maintain that heat. So when they do come off the restart, the tyres are still at temperature, and they can throw it into turn 1, feeling confident. They can feel the car under them. And really make a statement. Andrew Dyson is doing just that. I mean, you saw how quick he was checking out. Fastest lap of the race, 30.39 so far after 4 laps of green. So it's it's definitely one to keep an eye on what the driver's doing. You can hold the brake pedal, try and ride that brake pedal. Obviously, a hot brake disperses heat into the rim. There's nowhere else for it to go other than the rim, then out, so it goes into the tyre and heats them up a bit more. So it's one thing to watch as Foster gets out underway of pit lane now. So he was, as JP just noted, 1 minute and 2 seconds Zach Cave and Ed Foster was in the pit lane for. So there was a little bit of panel work done on that car, and he'll open up that throttle, open up the carburetors, and get cracking onto the back of the field there before they do go green.
Now, some news for friends of mine that are motocross fans in southeast Queensland, unfortunately, because of water damage and other things that have happened. The Coolant Pines Motocross Club is closed until further notice. I'm hoping that they can open up again in time for their club day in 2 weeks' time. But obviously, they've copped a fair pounding during the recent weather events in southeast Queensland. And I know we were talking about Russia and the Ukraine earlier. Of course, let's send our love and our thoughts out to all the people in southeast Queensland, northern New South Wales, even down Sydney way, that have been affected by floods and extreme adverse weather events in the last week and a half or so.
If you have managed to find power, and you are watching, our thoughts and prayers are with you guys.
Absolutely. It hasn't been an easy time for so many. I mean, unprecedented rain events, the likes of which we haven't seen for quite some time, apocalyptic, Noah's Ark sort of stuff. I mean, so many people very lucky to be unaffected by it, but everyone knows someone that has been impacted by it, especially in these parts of the world. Up here in Ipswich, a lot of local sporting clubs like Coolant Pines are in the middle of a big clean-up job to try and get back in operation, and it's the last thing they needed on the back of 2 years of COVID-affected running. Yes. It's just punch after punch at the moment, Matt Davis, and we can only hope that greener days and the light at the end of the tunnel isn't too far away. But we've got a good race to focus on here in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen. We're on lap 88. We're coming back to restart number 5 of the night, and looking forward to this immensely as we watch Andrew Dyson, Dion de Graaf, and Daniel Heddersheed, then Michael Skurlock, Stephen Williams, Greg Spencer, Devon Stove, Dave Douglas, Matthew Raymond, also Adam Malone, then Raymond Jagger, and Wayne Von Biljon making up the top 12 at the moment. Too early to put your money on this as they make their way back around onto the main straight. But the key contenders, Dyson and Heddershield, right there at the moment. Be interesting to see what Newman and also Foster offer up as this night unfolds. Not quite at halfway. Let's see if we can get there without another caution. Back to green we go. And immediately on the inside, Dyson slots into the lead. And Dion de Graaf came down to cover off Heddersheed, and Heddersheed makes his way down the inside. Can he get the job done on de Graaf? Heddersheed to second. Not yet. Not yet. He's going to hang there, though. Hang low, hang low, hang low. Now he gets by on the inside on the run down the back straight, but still de Graaf wants to force the issue on the run to 3. Through they go. 2 and 3 wide. Ooh, it certainly is.
At low line, Zach Caven definitely starting to turn on in the mid stage of this race. We saw Heddersheed just get past de Graaf like he was almost standing still on that low line. Whether that's a strategic move by de Graaf to hold back on those tyres, not use them as much, but Heddersheed now really got to hunt down Dyson, not let him get away like he did before. Got a replay. Matty Raymond gets a little bit loose into the roll.
Oh no! Now will that trigger another one? It didn't trigger another caution, but that was mighty close to doing so, because had just one of the cars that was coming towards them as they were sliding down the road made contact, we would have had caution number 6. Oh boy. High stakes stuff. in the desert in Las Vegas. How good's this? If you're not entertained by what you're seeing tonight, I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm not the biggest oval racing fan of the world, Matt Davis, but there are some oval races that turn it on better than others. This is one of them.
Yeah, definitely. I'm in the same book as you here. I mean, I know I race oval, but
Oh, you have no choice.
I race
Speedway.
I race switch direction as well, so I can go left hand down or right hand down, but it is on dirt, so it makes things a little bit more interesting. The asphalt side of things, not a big fan of, but tonight, and to call the race tonight has been absolutely superb. There's been the action from start to where we are now live with you, ladies and gentlemen, and you'll be able to find the replay if you are just joining us tomorrow on the platforms of Sim Shed Broadcasting. If you want to watch it back from start to finish, all in one piece, and see all the action live. Header sheet at the moment, though, is reeled in Dyson to 0.2 of a second, and De Graaf's gone with them. They've left Michael Skurlock and Stephen Williams, last year's race winner, in their dust, but are on the charge at the moment in 6th position, Zach Caven, Brad Newman. He's making a comeback.
Indeed he is. Oh, boy. How good's this? Down the back straight they go. Newman to the inside. Newman up to 6th. Side by side with Williams and Stove in there for good measure as well. And Skurlock's at the head of that battle pack. Newman to 5th on the inside of Williams. It's ebbing and flowing, and the totem pole that we've got here in live timing is fluctuating so rapidly at the moment because they're swapping position 2 or 3 times a lap. As soon as one car's got its nose in front of the other, bang, the switcheroo happens. It's like watching musical chairs unfold. Across the line we go. Now Newman wants a crack at 4th on the inside of Skurlock and gets it done. Skurlock offers very little resistance. Williams will want a piece of that as well and buy into it on the low line and does so. Oh, that's fantastic stuff. Williams wasn't able to cover it off just yet. So Williams tucks in behind Skurlock for the moment. He'll have another crack next time by. Almost half race distance. Lap 96.
Andy Barber on the replay, ladies and gentlemen, missing the front end of his car. Privateer this season. Not much aero going on there, Zach Caven, so he's going to be finding it a bit tough. Goes to the apron, finds the grass, and pulls it down onto the very low apron, and he's just going to putt around on the inside there and make his way back to pit lane and try and get some repairs done on that car. Mark Johansson, as he joins us in the booth, he dragged himself up by himself, or maybe it might have been Zach Caven that dragged him up. Welcome back to the booth, mate. It's all going on out there at the moment.
Oh, mate, these things are a handful to drive, but just snapped on me. It was like driving a sprint car with too much right air in the right rear, and it just turned. And I'd done, I think, 9 or 10 laps on that set of tyres before I decided to get into it. And yeah, it's just, I won't say what I think of it, but
I already know what you're thinking, mate. Coming from that side of the world and knowing what you're feeling right now, I know exactly the words going through your head right now. Mate, it's a bit of unfortunate luck there for you, but I mean, you get to join the A team in the commentary booth, I guess.
Yeah, only for 10 minutes. It's only 10 minutes repair. I'll get it repaired and I'll go back out and I'll see what it's going like. And if it's a piece of crap, I'll park it.
Geez, Zach Caven, he must have a fairly good pit crew pitting for him tonight, because 10 minutes worth of repairs must be absolutely flying. They're obviously getting the whip cracked by Mark Johansson right now.
Exactly. Hey, half race distance, perfect opportunity for us to have a chat to Mark Johansson whilst we wait for him to head back onto the racetrack. Then we can crank up the volume as well. Mark, what are you noticing in terms of grip levels and tyre wear, mate?
Oh, look, once those tyres come on, it's a fantastic car. But it's just that early, you know, you've really got to give it 10 to 15 laps. And I've been having trouble with turns 1 and 2 all night. 3 and 4 have been great. But I just went into turn 1 and 2 there a bit quicker than what I have been in the last couple of laps. And as I said to Matt, it just snapped on me and game over.
Been
So
getting a few reports in as well, Mark Johansson, that the track's not so much slick and slippery as we'd like to call it, but it's all coming down to that tyre and the tyre heating. And now that the sun's dropped behind the stadium, behind the mountains, behind the horizon there, it's now gone into nightfall. The lights are now well and truly on the track and lit up. It's the temperature of the track's going to start fading away ever so slowly.
yeah, but there should be enough rubber down. You know, that's the thing that none of us can understand. And I mean to say, some of the guys that have been caught out, like JCW's been having a handful tonight, and I think he's retired. You know, there's some good guys. There's some good guys that have pulled out. Got McClintock. I don't know what happened to him. Brad Allison got caught up in that first wreck. You know, it's just one of those things that it's going to take probably half a season to get these cars right before they're really drivable again.
Well, just to change topics here quickly, Mark Johansson, Daniel Hedersheed to the lead, ladies and gentlemen, over Andrew Dyson. If you look in the background as well, Brad Newman is on the back of this three-way battle for first. He's actually in the pack now, going for a move on to Graf. Down the inside, you'll be able to catch it on a camera angle right there. And he's going to have a look at Dyson as well and glue himself to the back bumper, Zach Came. And it's a four-way battle for the lead once again.
Oh, for
and
that
it's
second
only
time
going
tonight.
to turn it up from now.
Oh, perfect opportunity for us to crank up the volume, I think. Let's ride on board here with Dion de Graaf because he's the new player here with Newman, Dyson and Hedersheed who were right there at the front early in the piece. This is exciting stuff from Las Vegas, Nevada. Oh, exciting stuff here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Have a look at that. Brad Newman finds his way to the lead while we were cranking up the volume. And now the elbows are out and these guys mean business. And look at Dion de Graaf wanting a piece of the action into second around the outside of Daniel Hedersheed as well. Oh, this is magnificent stuff. Lap traffic doing the right thing, getting out of the way of these guys. That's going to be a factor that these guys will have to contend with across the final 90 laps of this race. Lap 109 of 200.
What a move by Brad Newman. Zach came while we're under the crank up the volume segment. Let's get a cracking replay of this one, I'd say, ladies and gentlemen. Watch the move. He's gone from the high line. He's gone straight to the low line, split the gap between the two cars. Look at this. Hey, see you later. Up and down the lone line of Dan Hedersheed, and then comes back up, steals the line away.
That's a brave move too, because it seems the low line's where it's the slipperiest. So well done.
He's making that low line work though, isn't he, Mark Johansson? You've watched him stick there and get around a couple cars now down the low line, and Andrew Dyson now back in the mix again. The boys left him for dead there, just a little bit. Dyson back into the mix and giving pressure to Dan Hedersheed as Dion de Graaf now starting to put some pressure on Brad Newman as well.
I'm just wondering, Matty, if he's adjusted his brake bias a little bit forward. That's one of the very few things you can adjust in these cars under a fixed setup.
Yeah, well, what can you adjust in these cars, Mark Johansson? Now, obviously, that was very close up on the wall there, but obviously, coming from myself, a speedway racer and a sim racing V8 supercar, where we race in the open setups and we can use fixed setups if we want. What can you change on these cars throughout the race to be able to benefit yourself around the track?
There's not a lot. Mainly the brake bias. You can adjust the tyre pressures coming in and off, but that's basically it. There's very little you can't adjust, like V8s, any bars or anything. So yeah, it's a very much like a speedway. Once you're out there with the car you've got to make it work.
Yeah,
Stepping
it's
into
very,
the
very cool.
stepping into the booth, sorry boys, to have a chat with us, and he's
Bill Hickey.
muted at the moment, but he is going to join us. Is Billy Hickey, mate? Just talk us through your night. That's obviously been a little bit frustrating.
Yeah, cheers, Zach. Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me up here. It was average, very average. I ran here on Wednesday night in another league in a totally different setup. So, coming out here today was really difficult to try and adjust to it. And this track's very unforgiving. Turn 1 and 2, we can speak of it, for the rest of our days at how difficult it is. And yeah, I just done bug it up, really. It's as simple as that. It's just really frustrating, because you come out here every week, you want to do well and put on a show, but then that happens. It's just the way it is.
I know that feeling oh too well, Billy, coming from a real world experience as well. So you try to put on a show for the viewers and have fun while you're at it, and then it goes all so wrong and gets turned upside down, and you're left with your head in your hands and you're wondering what happened. And it's with your night, I don't think we actually saw what happened. I think you got caught up in a little bit of the mess going on in one of those restarts.
Oh, there was a lot happening tonight. I'm actually not entirely sure what happened, to be honest. I think I happened was probably the main problem. But I qualified down the back, and when you're down the back, you run the risk of getting caught up in some average sort of incidents, and that's just the way it is. It's up to me to qualify better. So hey, I got caught up in a few incidents, and that's just the way it is. But that last crash, it just snapped on me. I was on fresh tyres and just lost it.
Another trouble.
One.
See the guys that had to take evasive action on the low line going into 3 and 4 there,
They were the leaders.
They were the leaders. So the troubles unfolded ahead of them. Have a look at Reese May getting tailed.
He said it just snapped on him, and look at that.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I did. Did to me. I can say to Billy, I don't know what's going on with it, Billy, because normally it's not that bad.
Well, we're at this point. We've got a new car. We've got to learn it, right? It's up to us to just practice and get good. And hey, look, you don't dictate the setups. No one does. That's all up to iRacing. It's the equipment that we're given. We just got to deal with it. So, we just got to practice more and find the groove and get into it. But look, that race is done for me. On to the next one. So yeah, it's just the way it is. But a big thanks to my sponsors, Property Brokers and Shed Broadcasting, Devon Stove Designs and Concut. Those guys do a good job to get us out of here every week. So
before you do scoot off, Bills, they all just dive down to pit lane now and grab some fresh fuel, some fresh tyres. What do you take away from this week? Obviously, the new cars, everyone's got to learn them, how they drive, how they react on track. But what do you take away from this week, and what do you plan from here on to do to get out there next week and get that position that you want?
Oh, it's just a matter of practicing as much as possible. We actually take a lot of it for granted. We think, oh no, it'll be a right on the night, and it never is. That's just the way it is. We've got to practice a bit more and take the time to understand it all and how the car works, because bringing this car to a different track each week is like learning how to ride a bike or learning how to walk all over again. So it's just a matter of practicing, putting the time in, and then that all equates to good results come Saturday nights.
Well, that's, I guess, the good thing, Zach and Mark Johansson, that we live in the sim world at the moment where you know, you can click a button and go, right, I want to go to this track this week. That's where we're
Yep.
racing next week. We'll go to here and I'll set the temperature for this. And you can
Yep.
you can change the weather. You can change all this where, you know,
Exactly.
the real life world for us guys, it's, you know, we have to learn the track on the night. And the only way to learn that is by laps and through your heat racing in the speedway world. So
Yep.
you're very fortunate, I guess, that came Mark Manson.
And what is dished up on the night, Matt Davis, is what you deal with, what you contend with, and everyone's in the same
Exactly.
boat. There's not much you can do because no 2 days are the same. There's not much you can do to
No.
prepare for next Saturday night tonight, for instance, because it could be completely different.
Yep.
Pit lane activity underway here for you, ladies and gentlemen. Quite a few drivers taking the opportunity to come in and either grab some tyres or top up or both. Now, Billy, interesting one tonight, wasn't it? Because obviously, with that bigger field, we knew that that was a recipe for a little bit more carnage than what we're accustomed to, and also just the frenetic, frantic pace of it, mate. The intensity. The elbows are out right from the start. This is what, even though it's only a mile and a half, this is one of those raceways that can, I guess, bunch the field up in a not dissimilar way, or in a very different way, but in a not dissimilar way to Daytona and Talladega, in the sense that you've got 4 cars that have been neck and crop all night on each other's tail, pushing each other along on the ragged edge. It has been quite extraordinary to watch from our perspective, but I bet it would have been nothing short of a handful from the cockpit.
You're not wrong there, Zach. It's I mean, I can only get out there 5 laps and I work up a sweat, you know, let alone doing a 50-lap green lap stint, for goodness sake. So it is very intense, but it's good at the same time because everyone rises to the occasion and puts on good racing and puts on a good show. You know, I mean, I don't really, to be quite honest, I'm not too phased about the end of the end result. I'm more sort of, you know, I'm more of a want to put on a show for the people that are watching at home and for you guys. You know, that's all that really matters to me. And when you're in the thick of it, time stands still. You know, I'll often turn the black box off and just focus on racing, and before you know it, that's 40 laps done, and you think, geez, where's that gone? And then you come to a caution, and it's time to sort of recollect and maybe pit and get tyres and fuel like these guys have, and then carry on. So it is very intense, and it can be really difficult to manage, but that's where practice comes into it, right? We're lucky in the sim world where we can, like you were saying, Matt, you know, where we can just click a button and we're away practicing, and then from that, you know, we're lucky enough that we can sometimes practice with AI, so we've got actual competitors out there that we can race against, so we can learn how to behave in traffic around these different tracks.
Yep,
No,
and everyone's been on the ragged edge, on the limit tonight, and there's been no margin for error. I mean, as you've seen, with so many cars coming unstuck, the amount of evasive action that's had to been taken tonight is quite extraordinary. Billy, if you can, stay with us, mate, because I want to grab a couple more thoughts from you when time permits. But right now, let's focus on the restart here, because these restarts tonight, and this is number 6, they have been intense. They have been lively from the outset. We're about ready to rock and roll again with Brad Newman leading the field to green. Dyson alongside him. When he hits the gas and goes, the field is left in the rear view mirror. Have a look at that from the onboard shot. Back to green in Nevada. Magnificent jump yet again from Newman as they head down towards turn 1. Dyson tucks him behind. Head of Sheldon to DeGraff. 3rd and 4th, Williams and Douglas arguing over the same piece of real estate as well. So, again, it's not quite pack racing, similar to what you get with Daytona and also Talladega. And we've got one on the low line already. More trouble brewing here. Let's wait and see. Caution doesn't fly just yet. But if that car that was on the low line had come back up any further onto the racetrack, it would have. Back across the line we go. 122 at 200. So we're inside 80 laps to go. We're past 60%. Mark Johansson just confirming with you that 50% is still where... Whoa! They're on the ragged edge.
Oh, there they go!
Oh, jeez.
That's Douglas.
That'll be the caution. Dave Douglas is stranded in the middle of the circuit, waiting for the caution to fly. It hasn't yet. I'm surprised by that.
The caution won't come out, mate, if they keep moving. It's only when they are slow in front of the field or stop that a caution will come out.
Dave Douglas did well then.
And your question is, no, mate, 25% now's the limit to get
I
points.
do read that.
Oh,
actually,
wow,
in,
okay.
in our notes right here
25%.
on the left of my screen.
I'm
Mark,
so glad I made it to 50 laps. I'll tell you that.
Mark, you're getting very generous now.
Oh, I am, but yeah, it's the old age, mate.
Yeah, you're mellow in your old age, which is probably a good sign for me.
Yeah.
And I mean that with regards to me, not anybody else. 124 of 200 here at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway. Yeah, it has been hotly contested right from the outset tonight, and that's the thing, isn't it, Billy? As we bring you back in, and Matt Davis is here as well. When you look at a racetrack like this, it behaves because of the way it's designed. Even though it looks like an oval, it plays like an oval. It plays very different to the other 1.5 milers. I mean, Texas and Charlotte are just two examples here of 1.5 milers that behave slightly differently to Las Vegas.
Well, the thing is, Zach, is you got to think about the environment.
Oh, car on the wall! And he
Ooh.
kept it going. We avoid a caution again, Billy. Third time lucky in this
As Brad Newman
7-3
said,
start of the
fastest
night.
lap.
Oh,
We got it.
jeez.
You got to think about the environment that we're in. We're in Nevada, so we're in the desert, right? So it's hot and it's dry. So when the sun's up, the track is hot, so therefore it's a lot slipperier. But as we've seen, the sun's gone down, the track's cooling off a wee bit. There's a bit more grip, but tyre degradation is a thing. So the grip starts to fall away, and that's when things get tricky. Luckily enough, in these cars, as the tyres fall away, you get a bit more grip and you get into a bit of a groove, as we see.
Adam Malone has triggered the 7th caution of the night.
7th caution. Sorry for triggering.
Oh. Yeah.
That's the
Oh,
on
no.
par with last year's
Yep.
Las Vegas Motor Speedway race, and that's 7 cautions for the night. And this race is definitely going to be going on longer than 2 hours and 14 minutes by the looks of it. Zach Caben, and
while we've got Billy with us, be remiss of us not to have a chat about the season at large, because when you think about it, mate, 35 races, and when I talk about just for context for people at home who are going to rip into the guy that doesn't do a lot of oval racing commentary, the fact of the matter is when like Matt Davis and I are one of the same. When it's Daytona, when it's Talladega, we're there because it's pack racing, it's luck of the draw, jackpot sort of thing. It's the big one. It's all the draw cards of oval racing, and it's the spectacular nature of it. And that's where I'm saying that you're getting a bit of that with Las Vegas as well. Some of those other oval races that you see in the NASCAR calendar, they're as stale as a bottle of urine. And I mean that with the greatest respect, because they just don't have the intensity, the excitement, and the drama of those bigger tracks. And that's exactly like we are getting a Daytona Talladega-esque edge of your seat sort of encounter tonight. So that's the comparison I'm drawing. I'm not trying to say that this is super speedway sort of racing. You are seeing a little bit of pack racing, but not to the degree that you would Talladega or Daytona. We'll get that later in April, Billy.
Yeah, well, and you make a very valid point there, Zach, because Michigan last week was probably, like you say, stale as a bottle of urine, but I mean, I wasn't there, I can't comment on it, but it was probably a bit quiet, right? Whereas you come to Las Vegas, it's tighter, it's shorter, it's going to be a lot more hectic.
More cars as well.
Yeah, that's right, and we're off to Pocono, for goodness sake. That's the tricky triangle. I cannot wait. I love Pocono. I can't say I go good around there, but I love it. It's a cool track.
And
you
got the type of track too. It's more of a flat track.
That's right. Yeah, and that demands more of a driver, because you sort of need to have a bit more throttle control as such, because because you've got a flat surface with a car that's got 600, 700, 800 horsepower and next to no downforce. So it's a matter of that's where the talent comes into it. Then we're off to Kansas. Well, that's probably just a little bit boring in a way. But then you throw in a road course like Watkins Glen, and then 2 weeks after that we're off to Daytona. So you can't like the racing changes from week to week, and that's the beauty of NASCAR racing, is every car is exactly the same, but it brings out different drivers each week, because it's just so competitive and such a level playing field. It's competitive in that respect.
Yeah. And from your perspective, mate, as the expert here, yeah, and I mean that with all sincerity. I mean, between you and Mark J. Hansen, you got more stock car experience than Matt Davis and I ever will. But if you were to put your money on anyone from this point, is it too early to call this race, or would you have an out and out, 5 each way on someone at this point?
Oh, well, look, it's definitely not going to be me, I can tell you that much. But Human's looking pretty strong. Andrew Dyson, all round, he's just an incredible driver. So is Heddershide. I've raced supercars and GT3s with him. He's an incredible driver. Edward Foster, despite his troubles, he's always one to watch out for. I'd like to say JCW, but he's unfortunately ended up the same fate as me.
Exactly.
So anyone that's sort of in the top 10, definitely one you want to look out for. Dark horses, I think, could be Jai Schultz and maybe Kobe Jordan, perhaps Tristan Koch as well. So, look, there's a few. There's always unknowns. No matter what track you go to, someone could just pop out and be like, "Hey, look at me," and then you sort of think, "Okay, he's quick. Why am I not quick?" So, yeah.
Yep. No one taking the bait, no one coming to pit road. Everyone's sort of hanging on for hopefully another caution closer to 140, 150 so that they can get home on the next fuel stop. And then it's just a case of if they need to come in and grab a fresh set of tyres, if we go green, white, checker, then they can do that. Tyre wear is always going to be a talking point, but with no tyre limit per se, Billy, you've got a little bit of leeway, a little bit of flexibility there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I unfortunately spent a few trips down pit lane race just gone. Tonight. So it's handy in that respect. It just takes away. And the problem is with these new cars, you don't know what tyre deg's going to do. So it's great to have unlimited sets, but if you have limited sets, it puts in the strategy and all that sort of thing. And no one's ever going to get it right and how it's all going to work. So I think having unlimited tyres is a good idea. But having limited size sets like we did last year certainly throws a bit of spanner in the works and asks more of the driver. You got to think outside the box. You're not just here on a computer and you get fresh stuff each time you go through. It's a matter of actually strategizing it and working that in your fuel as well.
9:11 Eastern Daylight Time, and we are far from done here. 70 laps to go becomes... Well, actually, no, it is 70 laps to go as they cross the line. My apologies. It was 71 on lap 130. We are on to lap 131, 79 to go. 70 to go, I should say, as they come through turn 1 and the restart 7 of the evening. Brad Newman, the leader from Andrew Dyson. Slotting in behind them is Daniel Heddersheed and Stephen Williams. Terrific to have the insider Billy Hickey here. Well, we've got him, obviously. As he said, it's not going to be his night tonight. But that's your game, ladies and gentlemen, because you're getting an insight that we as non-NASCAR iRacers can't offer. Me and myself and Matt Davis. Mark J. Hansen's still here as well. Are you back out on track yet, my friend?
Yeah, mate, I am.
Excellent. On lap 108. So at least you got yourself classified. That's the bonus. Oh, trouble! Car on the wall. There was one car going down to the inside of the racetrack at a real rate of knots. Tristan Koch it was, and that car is looking worse for wear. You limp it back to the lane. We'll stay green for the moment. Look at the smoke billowing out of the back of that thing as well. Oh, my goodness me. The drama continues. Las Vegas claims another one. That was a heavy hit. And that was driver's side as well. He's probably counting his lucky stars that were in the sim world right now. My goodness gracious me. Billy, what is it about these restarts? It just seems as though you guys are struggling to get temperature in these tyres off the restarts tonight, mate.
No, I tell you what, we're under caution when I was out there, and I was trying to keep the tyres warm, and then I overcooked it and actually just nudged the fence. So it's quite hard to keep temperature in without actually overdoing it. And the problem is it takes about 5 or 6 laps for everything to come up to temperature in these cars once you've got a steady green lap run. If you're stop starting yellow, green, yellow, green, yellow, green, then it not only does it mess with your car, but it messes with you mentally as well. So you're not thinking, you restart every single time. When you're restarting, you're always looking at the guy in front. Is he going? Cool, I'm going, and then I'm going. But the guy in front might not be. So that's the problem. There's so much of a, not only is there thinking about it from a physical aspect in terms of driving the car and all that, but the mental aspect, like I just said, restarts, everything else, it takes it out of you, man. And just a simple blip in concentration, that's all it takes.
And that's another reason why the race has been so intense tonight, Matt Davis, because when you get that chance to rest, cool the jets, and take stock and reset, then the elbows go up again, and everyone's running like a bull at the gate, and we get a couple of uncharacteristic mistakes, but also we get that hard and fast sort of racing as well, to steal a Tony Gregg expression. We get that hard and fast racing, and that is another thing that leads to those uncharacteristic mistakes, because the pressure gets to these guys mentally. This has been, as Billy said, this has been a taxing race.
Oh, the pressure that gets you. I mean, I get it in the real world as well. You get these off the actual start itself, or off these restarts when the track's slick out there. We get those yellows that come out one after the other, and we get the steward in our ears, and they're putting more pressure on us, trying to get us to make these clean starts, not just so we can get our race underway, but for the crowd perspective as well. And it plays with your mind, and you've just got to focus on your breathing and focus on what's in front of you to really try and get that start underway. And I've had it quite a few times where I've fumbled up myself. I've managed to gather it up and keep on going without bringing the yellow out, and it's just one of those things where you've got guys in your ears, and you've probably got these guys might have spotters or their friends or whatever in their ears trying to tell them you've got the restart, and the pressure, if you don't keep calm and focus on your breathing, that pressure will eventually build up.
Absolutely right, Matt. And when you say that, personally, a lot of these guys, they'll run a program called Crew Chief, which prompts you everything and tells you what's happening and all that. Other people have spotter packs like myself, and it all does the exact same thing. It's always personal preference, and when it comes to those restarts, I've always been of the opinion that as long as I know that I'm doing everything within my power to do the right thing in terms of keeping the car under control and racing cleanly and being aware of my surroundings, then I've got nothing to worry about. But it's the other guys, because you don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what's going to happen. So it's always, a bit of a mind game, as you say, because you can just sort of, one moment, happy, joy, let's get off to this restart, and next thing you've got guys wrecking in front of you, and you're trying to figure out where to go without getting caught up.
Now, two things in all of this. Yeah, a couple of comments here, Matt Davis.
Blown engine.
My favourite comment of the night from Abigail Foster, 26 looks like a Corolla now.
I just read that one.
Yes, very nice.
Unfortunately, that was my car, yep.
Yes, one Billy Hickey saying hanging out in the medical centre. Thankfully, he's been cleared.
I was going to say, I wouldn't call the commentary booth the medical centre, because then what's wrong with us?
This is more like what they call the 19th hole in golf. This is a place to drown your sorrows and also reflect. And as I say, blown engine on the 015 after greeting the wall. That's no real surprise. So we saw the smoke billowing out of the back of that. Inside 60 laps to go now. We're on board with Brad Newman, the race leader.
I'll just butt in there, Zach. Matt, you wait until you grab a tear off, but then you take the whole lot off, and you're in the lead.
Yeah, I've done that once before.
Man, that's fun.
Here's the other thing as well, gentlemen, and we're noticing this now. Look, 1, 2, 3, no real surprise there. Those guys have been there all night. Newman, Dyson, Heddershed.
And
look
in the background.
Look who's fourth and closing. 3.2 seconds behind Ed Foster. Another caution comes his way. He's back in this game. So it's just biding his time and waiting for his moment. And there's plenty of moments left in this one, Fields, after all the drama. We've had 7 cautions thus far and 143 laps.
Well, Mark Johansson, just to relate on the tear-off side of conversation as well, we've actually come from the back of the pack, and I thought that 6 tear-offs would be enough to come from the back to the front. Little did I know that they actually watered the track. So by the time I actually worked my way out into 5th position, I've pulled my last tear-off, and I've kept on going around. And the next lap, I've gone to grab another one and realised, oh, shoot, there's no more there. And I'm still getting absolutely pebbled with mud. So I do understand the feeling of pulling all your tear-offs off at once and then pulling all your tear-offs to your last one and realising that you've still got another 5 more laps to go in your heat race. So it's not fun.
Now, Just going to butt in there, guys. 18 cars still on the lead lap. Mark Smith, the last of those at this point in time. First one a lap down is Andy Barber in 19th. Then Justin Allen, Jamie Nankervis a few more laps down than that. Then you start to trickle down through the order, and the guys that are well and truly laps down and out of business as far as salvaging a result is concerned, but hoping that someone slips up and they can clock enough laps to make some overtakes and gains that way by default. And of course, Mark Johansson, one of them at the moment, 3 laps down on the car ahead of him, 25th, Wayne von Biljon. And of course, Mark is 26th, and you are yourself 2 laps clear and into pit lane now of Nathan Button. So Button might have an opportunity to claw that back at this point in time. So lap 146 at 200, still 1 pit stop left in this race, ladies and gentlemen. We're going into the third hour of our broadcast, and it's nice to have your company on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Of course, a big season for us, the Weekend Warriors, as it was known, the Australian Stock Car Championship. The Diecast, I've forgotten the name. I've had a blank. It's a big, long, elongated name. It's not Mark Johansson. Help me out, please. Help me out. I've had a blank.
I knew someone would fumble tonight.
Yep. Custom Paints and Diecast. That's the one. Thanks, JP. In the earpiece, saving me as per usual. Only 5 seconds later than I needed, but that's okay. The fact of the matter is that, Custom Paints and Diecast. I had the Diecast in my head. I just couldn't remember the rest of it. But yes, Custom Paints and Diecasts are on board for the entire season, so a big thanks to them. And I know JP personally wants to thank Track Hemsford Gourmet as well, because they're responsible for some of the awesome shots you'll be seeing right throughout the course of the season too. And it's not doable without sponsors, Mark, and you've got a few boys on board this year willing to lend their support to what is a growing series.
Yeah, definitely have, mate. Some great little sponsors come on board. License Me is one of them. Little family company up there on the border of Victoria and New South Wales, and they run courses for front end loaders, forklifts, whatever you need a license for, they run it.
Indeed. Have a look at it now. Have a look at Andrew Dyson here.
He's looking racy now, isn't he?
Yep. Hey, Billy, get your thoughts on this as well, considering you're still with us, mate, and we're very grateful for your company. Obviously, we'd prefer to see you out on the racetrack and coming to have a chat to us when you're in Victory Lane. That won't be tonight, but maybe somewhere later in the season. Ruben Phelps making a nice move over to 4th on that note.
Foster getting
that
back to 6th.
down the graph. Ed Foster back to 6th. He's been gobbled up by 2 of them. Daniel Heddersheet still third, 3.9 seconds ahead of this bunch. So Foster has dropped 2 seconds since we last checked in on that battle for 4th. And he's been gobbled up not only by Ruben Phelps, but also down the graph. And Stephen Williams wants a piece of it as well. 4-way battle for 4th at the moment. And this is the racing that we've been talking about. This is not dissimilar to what you might see in, Formula V, Mazda MX-5s. Pick your iRacing car of choice here, ladies and gentlemen. This is cracking stuff. Little battle packs popping up everywhere. We don't know where to look. But, Billy, since you are here, mate, as we get a replay on screen now, so I might just hold off on the replay and then get to you. This is the move. Ruben Phelps getting the job done on Foster, going into position number 4, and Dion de Graaf followed in close pursuit as well. We mentioned that the numbers, the drivers that want to get involved in this series this year is through the roof. It's off the chart. It's fantastic. There's about 80 of them registered. Expressions of interest were massive over the off-season. Getting 80 guys, it's a good thing we have got such a list, because getting 80 to turn up on a Saturday night is easier said than done, especially now as we deal with a good problem to have. The world gets back to some form of normality after 2 years of stop-start.
Oh, absolutely right. And of course, it goes without saying there was a flurry of people that joined iRacing when coronavirus first made its way into the major countries, US, Australia, New Zealand, and all the rest of them. So, some of them are still around. I'm one of them. I'm still here. I was a little bit late to the party, but, it's a hobby, and, you're really only in it because you're really into motorsport and you had a bit of money lying around because you couldn't go overseas. So it's really cool to see, and the problem is it becomes too much of a good problem, as you were saying, Zach, because it becomes hard to manage. And And, it's good having 40 cars turn up on a Saturday night because, I was busy last Saturday night, so I wasn't able to make it, but I'm here tonight and I'll probably be here next week as well. So, not everyone can make it on a Saturday night, but if you've got nothing to do, this is the perfect thing to do. Am I right?
Well, that's the best thing about it as well, Bill. I mean, that's half the reason why I got out of full-time racing in the sim world was because I got too busy with the work life, but I found out that I could switch it up and still get that sim world kick by jumping in the commentary booth and learning off one of the best of Zach Caban and obviously then obviously real worlds started to come up, but as you said, it's a hobby and you can pick and choose when you want to go. You've got no set time like the real world as well. If you do it as a hobby, whether it be speedway or your track racing, you can go to your track days, you can go to your race meetings, you can pick when and where you want to go racing. As we see Andrew Dyson getting real racy now. He's up the inside of Newman. He's got the position as they come into some lap traffic. That's going to help Dyson defend his position a little bit more as Newman got stuck behind the 06, I believe it was.
Look at this. Newman ranges up on the inside. He wants the lead. He wants to take it away from Dyson. Take it back off Dyson. But Dyson's hanging tough on the high line now. More lap traffic getting in the way. But if Newman can hang there, he'll get the toe as they come onto the back straight. Now, that lap car goes low, then goes high. That actually helps Dyson keep Newman at bay for the moment. Oh, lap 157, and we're almost out of breath here, ladies and gentlemen. We might be staring down overtime tonight. And also some stripsels tomorrow morning. Back to the main straight. 43 to go in Nevada. How good is it to have Saturday Night Motorsport back in full flight with Matt Davis in fine form down there in Victoria. JP and myself based up here in Queensland as well. It's a countrywide effort.
Well.
Exactly.
Don't forget Mark Johansson in Shepparton.
It's an East Coast-wide effort to get the job done tonight on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. 158 to 200. This race far from done, but we've got a splash and dash to come.
I just feel sorry for Billy having to swim back to New Zealand after that.
Yeah, that's a fair point. Very good.
Comments to get through Zach Caban, Dylan Davies, watching in from work, Jared Farrell. Let's get it, Brad. Up the pies. So I'm guessing the pies have won tonight in the I wouldn't even call it football. I'd just say tryouts for the season.
Didn't work well for Jared Farrell, unfortunately. My mate from karting days in 34th there and having a right royal shocker of a night.
Time to pull the finger D on by David. Get that Sim Black's car up there, and then Abigail Foster. Aero on Ed's car is less than ideal, so that's probably why we see Edward Foster dropping back down. But he's still giving it a red hot crack as well, as we see Newman back into the lead, and this has been ongoing for 160 odd laps now, hasn't it, Zach Caban?
Just to elaborate on that, up the pies, you'll find that Adam Ariel actually works for Whitey's Pies up there in, I think it's Ipswich, out that way somewhere.
Oh, there we go.
So if you want a good pie and you're in Brisbane,
that's it.
Head out the
Caban's all over that one.
Good pie, good sausage roll, good custard tart, all the good things you go for at a bakery. That's as far as I'm concerned anyway. And these days you can get a nice caramel latte at some of these coffee shops. Some of these bakeries as well.
I won't say no to one of them either.
No, not at all. Round they come on to
Dyson on the
main
inside.
Straight. Look at this. And of course, Hedderstead.
Well.
Yep, they'll be 3 wide in a minute. Hedderstead could go down the low line there, decides not to. Very nicely done. Through they go once more. 162 at 200. Nice to have you along for the ride, ladies and gentlemen.
On the inside.
We're into the final 20% of the race now. 1/5 of this baby to go. Any one of that top 3 can still win it tonight. You have to feel as though it's a race in 3 now. Unless we get a green-white checker and someone steals it from out of the clouds, Billy, this is looking like a race in 3.
Oh, absolutely right. I mean, it's just say the unpredictability of these races is, give us 5 seconds, we could be under caution. You never know. So, and if I was out there, I'd probably make that happen. So it's a matter of when you have the chance, sort of just seize the moment. Like you see, you move down the inside there, and they're side by side anyway, which is a who's that is Heddershide on Newman. So they're side by side. And that's the thing. You go into caution, you're stuck in that position for X amount of laps. Well, that bunches the field up, and then you're back hard racing again.
Oh boy.
164 of 200, ladies and gentlemen. The top 14 on the lead lap. Josh Schultz, the last one there on the lead lap. Daniel Heddershide now starting to put the pressure on Brad Newman for second place. He's got it on the inside so far. Newman's going to get the run around the top line towards the line to maintain that second. Cuts the line off and goes to chase after Andrew Dyson, who's bolted the 0.7 of a second over these two who have been drinking it out for 2 laps now. And Andrew Dyson has dropped. That's it. Andrew Dyson's dropped the hammer as they get a little bit of loose out of turn 2 as they make their way back down the back straight.
I just felt as though that was an opportune moment to catch our breath, reset, and then just rip in for the final 40 laps, Matt Davis, because there was that small glimmer of opportunity to take a breath and hold on. Look at this. And this is why, because this battle for 5th is off the chart, ladies and gentlemen. It's actually the battle for 4th. Ruben Phelps is 4th. Dion de Graaf is 5th. Then you go back to Edward Foster, Stephen Williams, then a gap back to Devon Stover, Michael Skurlock. And Adam Ariel's actually under the pump, and he's battled for 10th as well. He's got 3 cars, Giga, Spencer and Clark. They're in 11, 12, and 13 as well. So you've got 4 battle packs inside the top 15.
I just want to shout out to the voice that was on the radio last week for us, Carl Whitey, sitting in 16th in his Toyota. So that's a great result for Carl.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, we mentioned Carl at the top of the night, and looking forward to working with him at some point later on in the season in the booth, but good to see him out there on the track having a good run at this point in time.
He's kept it clean all night by the looks of it. Just run his own race, Zach Haven, and
who knows? A couple of late cautions, he might be able to pounce here and creep up into the top 10. Who knows?
Yeah, he's a lap down currently by the looks of it, according to my screen. But he's plugging away at the laps. He's doing what he needs, and if he can get a late caution, get a wave around, he could be on the lead lap and throw in some juice at the end.
Exactly. What he needs to do now, Matt Davis, is chip away at the gap to Mark Smith. It's only 0.9 of a second. If he can get past Smith, he'll get the next lucky dog. And we know, based on what we've seen thus far, that there's still at least got to be 1 caution to go in this race, maybe 2. We've had 7 already tonight. 32 to go in Nevada. Hope you're enjoying Saturday Night Motorsport on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. We've missed out stock car racing over summer. There's no doubt about that. And I believe Carl's back with you next week because Matt Davis is away with Speedway. I'm away with other commitments as well. But
8 titles next week, actually.
Exactly.
So
Best of luck to you, mate. Yep, indeed. And then we've got a little bit of a different lineup alternating throughout the course of the season, just again because Saturday nights are starting to become a more social night than what they were for the last 2 years. So we're not always as freely as available as we have been in previous times. Edward Foster bites the bullet and comes to pit lane. So Edward Foster, the last stop for him, underway right now. He's the first to stop last in the lead pack here. And we're waiting now for the rest of the field to make their way in for that splash and dash. And it will be a splash and dash in relative terms to what we've seen in the first 2 stints because they'll only have to fuel up for about 29, 30 laps, not the 40, 50 laps that they've been fueling up for in the first few stints. Here we go in the pit lane, Stephen Williams. Now, we're watching Andrew Dyson. He's the race leader at the moment. When does he come to pit lane? It looks as though he's slowing down now. He's coming down on the low line. Is he coming in? No, he's not. He's going to go around again. So we wait and see. They need to be aware of the fact that Stephen Williams is in pit lane now. That looks like Dion de Graaf as well. So he's making his way in. There's some strategy play. There's some different tactics being played here at the moment, and that's what we like to see. Billy Hickey's back in the booth with us at this point in time. This is where the cat and mouse game starts to begin, mate, as people trying to get that little bit of an edge, that little bit of a kick under a different strategy play. You pit here, I zag, you zig, and all hell breaks loose.
It's right, and it's a matter of making it work for you and trying to consider what other people are going to do. I mean, you don't know what the guy in front or what the guy behind is going to do. It's a matter of, like I say, figuring out what works best for you. But if you're running at the same sort of level as the guy in front, then you're going to be pitting around about the same time, right? That could be games graph for anyone else. But
Exactly.
But your leaders will be thinking, well, hold on, these guys are pitted. I'm going to push everything that I've got with however many laps of fuel that I've got left to go as hard as I can until I need to pit. Get in there, get some tyres, get the fuel, and then just sprint as hard as you can right to the end.
Head
Good
a
luck,
feed in
head a
on that
feed in.
note too, boys. So he's in the pit lane at the moment. We'll keep an eye on him relative to the other two. The other important note, I mean, we're talking about the tail end of the race here. If we go to green-white checker, the later these guys can stop, the better their tyres are going to be. Should we get the green-white checker, which is a distinct possibility tonight, given what we've seen thus far and how these cautions are played out. And we know that the intensity of the stakes are going to raise in the last, 20 laps here. So it wouldn't surprise me if we do get a caution. And on that note, look at on the limit work from Dyson. We've got De Graaf off as well. So we'll see a replay of that in a moment. Is Dyson coming to pit lane? No. Devon Stove is, however. So he's in the pit lane.
Oh,
De
saw De
Graaf.
Graaf get
No. But he kept it going.
Oh,
And then into the wall.
Oh,
But he kept it down on the low line, so he's away
If he
from
had recovered that,
Yep.
that would have been one hell of a recovery.
But because he was off the racing line, they let it go green. So that's down to Graaf out of business. He was a race contender up until that point. 25 to go. Make it 24 as they come across the line. Dyson still persevering with what can only be worn tyres now, nearly 60 laps into the stint.
And he's
This
pulled
is
away
lap
from
60
Newman
of the
quickly.
stint. And this is extraordinary because obviously these guys are working on what can only be assumed to be worn rubber, Billy Hickey. They're going to come in and they're going to be on fresher rubber relative to those that stopped 5-6 laps earlier at the end. But at what price? What cost?
well, I'll tell you for what, running on worn tyres is actually a lot more comfortable than running on brand new tyres. So it's actually not a bad thing, but you do need to bear in mind that changes in the track surface is going to affect you a lot more than what it would if you were on fresher tyres. So if you're running around out there on old tyres like Andrew is here, and what he's doing right now is he's got himself a rhythm. He knows exactly, that was close. He's got himself a rhythm. He knows what he needs to do. He knows where he needs to be, and he knows where the car can run. He's been brave enough to venture up and all around. Was he slowing down to go into pit lane now? No, not quite.
Not yet. Not yet.
Last pit lap, there is Newman in the pits.
Newman's in pits.
Wow.
So that's the gamesmanship we talk about. I hate to sound like Mark Scaife here, but that's the gamesmanship that we talk about, right? Because you run as hard as you can for as long as you can. But Newman's obviously fell back a wee bit there, and he's thought, well, if I don't go now, I'll never go. So away he went, and now Dyson's thinking, right, well, I've got a rhythm. If I've got XYZ laps left of fuel in the tank, I'm going to run hard, and he can do that because
he's in the pits. In the pit now.
And
there
now,
you go.
oh boy.
Everything I just said, throw that out the window because it's hard racing.
Exactly. And unless we had a caution, in which case all bets are off because the gloves will be out tenfold, more than what they are at the moment. Oh, can this pack find itself back to one another? Will they bunch up between now and lap 200? We wait and see. Newman's out. Dyson's in the lane. Newman is out.
Dyson's taking rights at the moment.
Oh, boy.
And lefts. He's taking full set.
There you go. So that brings me back to the point, Billy, because there's no tyre preservation required here, because these guys are running with no limit. They've got a free top up every time they come to pit lane. What invoice do you have to pay on that in terms of time, sitting there taking lefts and rights? Is there any merit in just taking one or the other? Or because there's that no limit rule in place, what's the bet that all these guys are going hell for leather and throwing everything out at 4 tyres fresh? Let's go to the end.
That's the point I was going to. That's the next point I was going to make, Zach. Because a lot of tracks you can get away with just changing the lefts. Because this track you rely on pretty much the whole front of the car to get you around both the corners. That's how difficult it is here. Whereas other tracks, you think about Auto Club in Michigan, you can just change the left side, and that makes a huge difference. It's like having a full set of tyres, and that's where you save so much time by just doing one side. And That's how you make those gains. And hey, look, if you can take a full set of tyres like Andrew has and get away with it, then bloody good on you, because it pays off at the end. You know, you take just enough fuel to get to the end, so you don't have any unnecessary weight in the car, and then you take the full set and guns blazing, away you go.
Well, look at this, Zach Cabin. Dan
Yep.
Heddersheed out in front of Dyson and Newman, and by a wee way.
Caution, caution, caution!
There it is.
Oh, throw it out the window.
Boy. Oh, wow.
He has too. He's down.
Oh,
Dyson in the 10th. Dyson got loose.
One of the key contenders of the night has bitten the dust on a night where we've seen so many come unstuck.
Oh,
That's a big
that's
one.
huge.
And that's why the caution flies.
And that's exactly what happened to me.
Oh, no. And now all bets are off because it's lap 182, 183 now. We've got 18 to go, 17 next time by the line. We'll probably get a restart with 15 to go here. And then, who knows, we could get another 2 cautions after that. This is number 8 of the night. I'm not ruling out 9
Look
or
at that
10.
on board.
This close to the end because that's on the lead lap at least is back in this fight with a chance.
Cold
That would have
tyres.
been a good on-board shot. Sorry there,
Exactly.
Billy. That would have been a good on-board shot there, Zach Cabin, of watching Andrew Dyson up into the wall. Prepare to get spinny here, ladies and gentlemen. Go for a ride on the merry-go-round because you're about to on Dan Dyson's front end.
Spencer
Look at
Ariel, Heddersheed, Schultz,
Oh.
all in. Foster, Williams, both in as well. They're all coming in. Ruben Phelps, Brad Newman, Raymond Jager. Stay out at this point in time.
Oh, I know exactly how that feels.
Oh.
I felt like I was on the merry-go-round earlier on too. And that's
I
what I'm
But
saying.
he was not in VR.
There's something about this series, Billy Hickey, and you know this because you've been here a while. There's something about these series of races, 9 out of 10 of them, there's always a sting in the tail in that last 10%.
Oh, absolutely right, and that just goes back to what I was saying about the environment around us, right? You know, it's later in the day here. The sun's gone down. It's dark, so it's colder in the air. It's probably wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of dampness in the game of some sorts, but you know, the sun's gone down. It's cold, so cold tires on a cold surface that ain't just going to work. So there you go. You can see the temperatures down the right hand side there. It is a bit chilly, and there's a bit of wind as well, so that doesn't help. And depending on the direction of the wind, that can sort of play havoc and dependent on which sort of part of the track you're on if you're going into a corner. So you got cold tyres on a cold surface, and there's your dew point and humidity and everything like that. So that plays so many factors.
By memory, I think the way it's been set up tonight, it's a southwesterly, so it's blowing across the corners. So it will be a side wind in the both corners.
Yeah, and a heavy one at that too, based on what we saw in the opening forecast, Mark Johansson, where the track conditions were 70 air temps, 71 on track. This was at the start of the race, and 17 mile an hour. Let me highlight that again. Wind speed.
Yeah, look, it's just so people understand what I do on a Saturday morning. I go to the Weather Channel, and I find the real life weather for
The
that
research.
track, and that is what we tend to run with. So, anyone
hang
watching that's back.
Hang on. If there's ever rain forecast, Mark, you can't exactly do that, mate.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, could you imagine if they let these loose in the rain on an oval? Jeez, what catastrophic prospect that would
Could you
be.
imagine a V8 supercar getting loose?
I know. Well, actually, it was just nice to see them actually race in the rain after their performance last November. But that's more said about them than us. But that's another story for another day. Of course, we're all excited in iRacing circles, not so on the ovals, obviously, because for reasons we've already explained. But circuit racing circles, we are, if you pardon the pun, we are so excited about the rain model coming to iRacing at some point very shortly. Winter Motor Raceway is on its way here as well. We've got Stand Down coming along. There's a lot to be excited about. And if ever the rain model is going to launch, it should be in conjunction with Sandown on the server, with no disrespect to Victorians at all.
No. I say Winton because I want to make a guess.
Oh, yeah, that's
when
true
that
too.
comes in.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey,
I'm
you,
just
you're,
gonna,
you're more than welcome.
I'm just going to do something very quick as well as that, Cave. And once we do get under green flags and that, we've just got Andrew Dyson, who I've just dragged out of the medical centre after he got cleared.
Oh, gee.
After that insane incident, we'll wait to get under this restart. So just hang tight there, Andrew. We'll fire some questions away once the
Just
safety car
quickly,
peels off.
Before we do that, we've lost Billy Hickey. We've gained Andrew Dyson, but a big thanks to Billy Hickey for his expert insights over the last half hour or so. Didn't have to stick around and have a chat to us idiots, but did so, and it was greatly appreciated on a Saturday night because he's inside his expertise. It's not just educating you at home, it's educating Matt Davis and I as well. So we're very grateful to Billy for sticking around for as long as he did. Look at how close Newman wants to get to the safety car here, if you don't mind.
There's
boy.
There's a rule with us, mate. You must remain within 2 car lengths of the pace car.
Well, he was in 2 mil of the safety car. Pace car off, race back on. Raymond's in charge. Let's get to business. 15 laps to go. Back to green in Nevada. Newman in second spot. Probably the favourite in this race at the moment, but you can't rule out Ruben Phelps or Michael Skurlock now. They've got a chance to weigh into the action here, and look at Newman ranging up on the outside, going back to the lead. The yellow-black machine has spent a lot of time at the front tonight. He wants to be there in 13 laps' time. Look at Phelps on the outside as well. He's going to second. There's another caution brewing here, surely. Across the line with 13 to go. Phelps is chasing hard. See, this is the thing. Some of these guys, they might have been sandbagging. They might not have been offering their full ticket.
Oh!
One. Massive chunk. There's the ninth. Ninth caution of the night.
That was big.
That was nasty. Have a look at this on replay, ladies and gentlemen. Devon Stove bites the dust. Bang.
And that's what Billy was talking about before, Zach. Just that thing that snaps so, and it just snaps on you. And there's a couple more joining him in the background. It just breaks loose so easy.
Andrew Dyson, that's a similar incident to what you had there going on, mate.
Yeah, it happens pretty easily. I feel sorry for Devon there, but yeah, they bite pretty hard.
But what going around, we saw you had clean track, you had clean air, and then all of a sudden it's almost like a wheel malfunction or a tyre blew out or something. You've just gone snap, bang, right up into the wall, and you're just along for the ride on the merry-go-round.
Yeah, that's just what they do, man. They get a little bit sideways, and they don't really have a lot of side aero grip. So as soon as they're gone like that, you try to put a bit too much wheel into them instead of getting off the throttle, and you go straight up into the fence. That's exactly what I did, but it was an awesome race out there with all the dudes. It was a shame couldn't really let it play out to go green to the end. But throw in an interesting caution there, I suppose, and I've spiced up the race inadvertently.
Absolutely you have, Andrew, and we must thank you for that, because it's not just sport, it's entertainment that we like to deliver on a Saturday night, and you've helped us do that, mate. But you've done it in 2 ways, because as we see Daniel Heddersheed come down pit lane as well, Dion de Graaf's going to get the wave around the lucky dog there by what I'm seeing, because he's the first showing a lap down. Then Norman Clark, Carl Whitey are going to miss out in all of that, and by the looks of it, actually Norman Clark's just gone by Dion de Graaf, so he might get the lucky dog instead. So there's a lot happening out there. We're rooting for Whitey to get the wave around. That's not going to happen by the looks of things. Now, in saying all of that, to you, Andrew Dyson, unlucky, obviously, disappointing for you to come for it to be a case of Sony yet so far. But the intensity of that race, the excitement that you guys were delivering, restart after restart, battle after battle, 4 cars continuously fighting for the lead all night. This is why there's such a love for this racetrack from a spectator's point of view and a commentator's point of view, because unlike some of the ovals that we go to, this one delivers great racing. And you were in the thick of it all night long with Newman, with de Graaf at one point, obviously with who else? Heddersheed, and I think there was one more in the thick of that as well that name's just Edward Foster, of course. So I mean, at any point tonight, you were duking it out with 3 different guys and holding your own very nicely.
Yeah, it was great fun. I mean, these cars, you can race them a few different lines around this track, so that's awesome. That's a credit to this track. But these cars are really drafty too. When you're out in front, you feel like a bit of a parachute, and it's really hard to get a breakaway. So whenever you got someone behind you, the racing like kind of concertines, you get all these people like backing up behind you, and that's why you end up with these really big packs. And it makes it really exciting and makes it pretty sketchy at the same time. But yeah, it was really cool. Good fun out there.
Now, Matt Davis, I just want to highlight something for you and everybody at home as well. 191 of 200, which means that we are 10 laps to go, 9 next time by the strike. The potential for overtime looming ever closer. And I believe, if my numbers are right, and JP may be able to show race time on the screen there for us, we can't see it at the moment, but I would believe that we're beyond the 2 hour, 10-minute mark of this race. So this is going to go, on my numbers, longer than what we've seen the 2021 race goes. So that race record is safe. And as we suspected it might be when we saw the size of the field for one, and obviously when you consider that this is caution number 9. There it is. 2 hours, 9 minutes and 38 seconds. I was close. I'm happy. 3 hours, 25 server time. Don't worry about that. We're good with that. But yes, we are going to go most likely beyond as the field starts to form up in 2x2 formation. Lights will go out on the safety car either this time by or next. Keep an eye on that safety car there. Let's keep our eyes peeled on that. When the lights go out on the safety car, these guys will start forming up. Lights are out this time by. They'll get the green flag with 8 to go. There's touch and go as to whether they get that record. I don't think they're going to, because I think there's another caution in this just yet. And Mark Johansson just relaying once again for the benefit of the viewers at home and those that are new to the Australian Stock Car Championship, the rules regarding overtime, mate.
One green white checker.
Only one.
Yeah, only the one.
Which is so unfortunate, because when you think of how many times you could potentially do it, we could be here till midnight. And there were bets hedged earlier in the day as to how long we were going to be here. It was only certain members of the commentary team having a dig at how long I go for a post-race show. But that's another story for another day when we get to the post-race show very shortly, ladies and gentlemen. Stick around for that. We'll hear from some of these drivers involved in what's been a thrilling night at the office. And I don't know about you, Matt Davis, but I'll be going straight upstairs for some strepsils and honey after this one.
That's it. Well, we better let Andrew Dyson go, and we thank him for a little bit of insight onto the race, not his little bit of incident. We hope he brings the car back next week and is able to have a fairly good crack. So thank you very much to you. As Brad Newman takes control of the field now, Zach Kamen, lap 1. Contact off the
restart. Jeez. Andrew Dyson, if he can stick around, we'll get him to stick around, because I'd love his thoughts on Pocono, which is the next stop, the Tricky Triangle, of course, next week. But if not, obviously we'll hear from him next week in our third round coverage here on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Onto the back straight, 8 to go, 7.5 for Newman. Brad's clear by 0.65 of a second, and that contretemps at the start there might be just enough for him to break clear and put some distance between himself. And look at Ed Foster back into second spot. Raymond there third, Michael Skurlock, Ruben Phelps back to 5th. Oh boy, the elbows are out. We knew they would be. Is there another caution brewing in this one? We wait and see. With Baden down on the line, trouble. It's the yellow we're waiting for, number 10 of the night. And this one's not done yet. And this will mean that the next restart will most likely be lap 198, which means green, white, checker. Oh boy.
That's half huge. The field. That's half the field almost.
That's right, the biggest one of the night, Matt Davis.
Oh, it definitely is. Let's have if we can get a replay of that restart as well, because just Ruben Phelps just dropped straight off the back there, didn't he, Zach? Ruben Phelps may have been a fair bit of wheel spin. Got a restart here, replay of the restart right here, and safety car pulls away. Newman jumps, and then Phelps just lights him up, and unfortunately the boys, just Skurlock and them, just piled into the back of him and allowed Newman just to get the jump over Jaeger, and away Newman went.
Andrew Dyson is still with us. We're grateful for that. let's just get his quick comments. If you were still in this race, mate, A, how would you play it? And B, obviously, as I said earlier, love to get your thoughts on the tricky triangle.
Gee, I don't know. I think I'd just go as fast as I could if I was in the lead at the moment. Yeah, I don't know, try and mix up the start. You know, if I've been doing the same thing pretty much the whole race, I'd try and do something different from the restart from P1. Try and mix it up that way and get a bit of a gap. But like I said, it's super hard to get a breakaway with these cars, so with how drafty they are. But yeah, Pocono's pretty gnarly. I haven't done too well there in pretty much anything ever, really. But I'll yeah, come jump in and see how we go. But that'll be the same, you know, big, long straights, really drafty, I think. There'll be some pack racing for sure.
And
We love our pack racing.
just last week, they still had snow there.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
So just before we go green, I've just gone and checked the map. So in the 1 and 2, you've got a nose wind. So it changes mid corner, and coming out of 1 and 2, you're going to have a cross tailwind, and so that could be the issue with turns 1 and 2.
All right. So next time by the line will be the start of lap 197. And if the lights go out on the safety car on 197, we get a restart on 198, which, my apologies, will mean a green flag, 2 laps, white checker, because you'll get 198 and then 199. Then the white flies at the start of lap 200. So it might be a 3-lap dash to the line, but all bets are off because the elbows are going to be out. Now that Ed Foster's found his way back to the front of the field and the front of the line here at the end of the night, he's back where he started. This is an exciting prospect going into this final couple of laps. The yellow lights are still on the safety car, so this means it will definitely be green-white checker. And if they get through 199 clear, the next flag will end the race. We won't do overtime. But if we so much as have an incident during the 199th lap, and we do trigger an 11th caution of the night, we will do a little bit of overtime. Right, still on the safety car this lap and one more. Restart coming up, lap 199. Matt Davis, I'm not game enough to call it. I mean, it could go either way. This Newman's been at the front all night. Edward Foster's had to work his way back. He got bitten by that first round of pit stops. Some of the guys that stayed out longer, Edward, of course, pitted around lap 60, 61, and the rest of them waited for 64, 65, by which point they got the caution, which meant they had to wait for 66, 67. So for Foster, he's been working back ever since then. He must be chomping at the bit to get going off this restart because he's finally found his way back to the front and he's in with a real crack. But you can't rule out the guys behind them either because they're all breathing down their neck. And if all hell breaks loose, anyone could come through and win it. This isn't Talladega-esque Mark Johansson's Anzac Day heroics last year, but it's eerily similar. Ooh.
Yeah, Foster's done an absolutely cracking job to make his way back up to where he is now, back in the second place after dropping so far down to down the field as well to make his way back up to second off the restart side by side with Newman. Between me and you, Zach, I don't think I'm too keen on calling it. So I mean, I guess we could have a rock paper scissors and see what happens. But
no.
I mean, geez, it's going to be a tough one to call. So you can hand over the duties to whoever you want, mate. You're the lead.
and look at how depleted this field is. That was 20 rows deep at the start of the night. It is now just 9 rows deep. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. 18 cars left on the racetrack. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 5 still showing in pit lane. We've had a 19th car rejoin well down the order at the back of the field. There's been a fair attrition rate to this one, ladies and gentlemen. We hope you've enjoyed it as much as we've enjoyed bringing it to you. But strap in because it's not done yet. Green, white, checker on the west coast of America. We are set to rock and roll. The second round of this Australian Stock Car Championship Series. And we're going to get down to business, hopefully one last time. And look at Newman just putting a foot to the floor and say goodbye. Nice restart from Jagger to get down on the inside of Foster as well as they head towards turn 1. Jagger's going to second. Foster wants to force the issue on the outside. And here on his outside comes Skerlock and Phelps as well, wanting a piece of the action. They can't get there.
You can see in the
Foster's got
background
those
everyone
in
gets
front there in
squealy.
second. They certainly are. Next flag will end the race if they get to the line and get the white flag. And that's exactly what Newman's going to do. To the line. White flag flies. 1 to go in Las Vegas. And it's Newman's to lose from here. Brilliant performance from him tonight. Been a consistent performer from the outset. Made his way through in the early stages. Was battling in that top 4 right throughout the first stint, right throughout the second stint. And he is going to be a worthy winner tonight in Nevada. Last turn, checkered flag, 200 laps, 300 miles. Get your hands out and smash them together for Brad Newman, ladies and gentlemen. He gets the job done in week 2, round 2 of the Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting. Epic finish in Las Vegas on a Saturday night, and that's the sort of race that brings people back to the fence this time next week.
What an absolute cracking race that came, and that is one of the best oval races in the sim world that I have seen. The best that I've commentated so far, and that's put itself up number 1. That's going to be a tough one to beat this season, I reckon. Brad Newman all race long had the lead, wanted the lead, he kept the lead. Andrew Dyson fought for it. He took the lead for a little while there, unfortunately crashed out, and Ed Foster comes back from almost the back of the pack to come back, finish second with some damage on the car. That's an absolute stellar drive on its own.
Crank up the volume, ladies and gentlemen. Celebrate in victory lane with Brad Newman. Yes, look at that. Oh, very nicely done from Brad Newman. What about that? Yellow and black always looks good on a race car, and particularly when it's in position number 1. 3 different manufacturers in the top 3. 6 Chevys, 3 Fords, and a Toyota in the top 10. Newman gets the job done from Foster Skurlock. Then, of course, Raymond Jager. Then you go back to Ruben Phelps, Stephen Williams, Dave Douglas, Greg Spencer. Then Norman Clark and Mark Smith making up the top 10. At the end, as we roll over the page there, only 12 home on the lead lap. Our mate Carl, the first lap down in 13th, and in the end, the only one within a stone's throw of that leading pack of 12 when you look at everyone else being 6, 7, 8, 9, 13 laps down. Matt Davis. Adam Ariel was 11th. Dion DeGraff 12th. Carl Whitey 13th. Then Justin Allen, Devon Stove, Daniel Heddersheed. Then Jay Schultz, or Jai Schultz, I should say. Then Kobe Jordan, Andy Barber, and Adam Malone. And that's me halfway through the field, mate. I'll let you take over from here.
Jamie Nankervis, Andrew Dyson after that big stack that he had. Reigning champion Darren McKenzie crashed out very early in the race. Unfortunate to see that from him. He's got a lot of work to do for the rest of the season, try and come back and try and defend that championship of his. Wayne Van Biljon, Stuart Patterson, Nathan Button, Tristan Koch, Mark Johansson and the man himself, 81 laps down after an unfortunate race. Still got to learn the cars, all these guys, and it just goes to show that the top 12 tonight have really put in the practice to really learn the cars, and maybe a bit of luck going to some of those guys as well. Reese May and Brett Campbell rounding out your top 30 there, ladies and gentlemen. And mind you, all these guys are classified except for the ones down the bottom. There we got Matthew Raymond, Jared Farrell, JCW, Bill Hickey, Scott McClintock, Brendan Henderson. Those guys will get classified. And then unfortunately for Steve Hoppett, Carl Knedler, Mark Turner and Brad Allison, those guys crashed out right at the start of the race. Well.
And that's a fair point you make as well, Matt Davis, because the top 36 will be classified as per the rules of 25% earning points, but the remaining 10% of the field will not be. That was quite extraordinary, wasn't it? I mean, there aren't too many oval races that can maintain that sort of intensity outside of Daytona Talladega from first until last. And you and I have well and truly blown a valve in the gearbox tonight. That was.
I need some strepsils.
Oh yeah, blown a cylinder, all right. We'll need to get some service before we come back for the RSRA Super Series in a couple of weeks. Great racing here. Brad Newman, Edward Foster, and also Mick Skurlock joining us here for a chat post-race. Hopefully Raymond Jagger not too far away either in third place there. But let's start with Mick Skurlock because he's push-to-talk buttons going, flashing at me like a rate of knots. So I'll go there first. Skurly, in all of that, mate, I mean, said unlucky in the fair income department that it was fourth, but it could have been fifth or sixth had misfortune not befallen some of the faster guys around you that were at the pointy end of town at the beginning of that race. But you and Ruben Phelps and even Raymond Jagger came on leaps and bounds. You eased into it, you warmed up, and you bolted as the night went on. And a top 5 finish is yours as a justifiable reward.
Yeah, mate. I'll tell you one thing, though. I wouldn't be in here if I didn't get third. So at the last over the line, I pipped Raymond. That's why I'm in here.
Oh, okay. My timing's still showing. Sorry, my timing is still showing you as fourth. So obviously it was by a hair's breadth, or a bee's. You know what?
I'd love to see how close that is on a
because
on a
it's showing as
finish.
.00 on my timing screen. So that's how close it was. It was a photo finish. If we can get a replay of it, we will. But okay. So obviously, in all of that, Mick, congratulations on that note, getting onto the podium again. The joys of iRacing, ladies and gentlemen. You know, it doesn't always get it right, but well done to you, mate. Obviously unlucky for Raymond, who drove a beautiful race up until getting pipped at the line. But we mentioned that as one of the interesting talking points coming into that final stint. We didn't even get a chance to touch on it, such was the intensity of what was going on at the front, mate. But we mentioned it early in the piece that high line, low line, drag racing to the line off the final corner, it could be a determining factor in win, lose, or draw in that race. And in your particular case, it worked and you got the job done for third. But what an intense night at the office. You guys really earned your keep tonight.
Yeah, mate. I mean, well done to these other two here, because I don't really deserve to be here because I couldn't keep up tonight. Couldn't get the hang of it, eh? There's something weird about this that I just haven't figured out yet. I think I put the wrong steering ratio in, maybe, and that's, I don't know, I couldn't feel the car. No matter what I did, I didn't know what the hell it was going to do. But, yeah, just stayed out of trouble. There was crashes around me. I made it through them. That's always a big deal here. If you can do that, you normally end up pretty good. But at the end, I was close just because we had a yellow 5 laps before. So, yeah, well done to Edward and Brad. They kept pulling away, especially Daiso and Brad, just taking off early. I don't know how they were doing that with the new tyres, but yeah, it was a good race.
And one name that we missed in all of that, Matt Davis, was Daniel Heddersheet. It just fell to pieces for him in the closing stages, and he ended up 6 laps down in all of that, not even taking the checkered flag, classified at 194 laps in the 200, and he was one of the contenders in that race. You mentioned earlier Andrew Dyson. Also, of course, who else? Dion DeGraff was the other one that we didn't get a chance to mention in the end. He only came
He had
home
some pace.
well. So, I mean, mixed points very well valid there, because the guys at the front, those 5 particularly, had the legs on everyone tonight.
Yeah, they definitely did. They really put the pace on and really said. I mean, DeGraff came out of nowhere. Really,
In the second stint.
After those pit stops had gone away, and Heddersheet made a little bit of a fumble. The safety car got called out. The whole field got completely jumbled up. DeGraff held on and stayed there with Dyson, and then all of a sudden Newman came back into it, and DeGraff was there with Newman, and then all of a sudden DeGraff had a pit, and that's the last we saw of him. He unfortunately crashed out, and it would have been interesting to see what would have happened if there had have been Newman, Foster, Dyson, DeGraff, Heddersheet. Like, if you had had those guys running up the front all race long, had they come to the end and raced to that checkered flag, I reckon that would have been the final lap that you would have lost your voice and most likely retired on your commentating, Zach Caden.
Well, to be fair, there have been people wishing for me to lose my voice or contract permanent laryngitis for years now. So far, their wishes have been falling short of the mark. They haven't been granted, and we live to fight another day. But in saying that, let's bring Mick back into the conversation. We've got Edward and Brad standing by as well. We'll work our way up through the top 3 here. Mick, in saying all of that, yes, you reap the rewards of what's happened to those around you, and they've, fallen by the wayside throughout the course of the night. So I want to talk to you about two things. One, your own race, because for most of the night, you had some sort of company around you. I mean, there were battle packs forming right throughout the top 15, albeit in dribs and drabs of maybe 2, 3, or 4. And secondly, how hard were those restarts? Because we saw so many people come unstuck, be it mid-corner or exit of the corner, just on cold tyres and cars snapping left and right, and those in the mid-pack having to take some sort of evasive action. It really was one of those nights where you had to be really on your toes with regards to your reflexes.
Yeah, really on your toes is exactly what it's like. You don't really know. There's nothing you can do really. Like if you can either go right to the back, or you can, there's nothing. If you're gonna go for it, you have to do it. And if someone crashes in front of you, you can't really avoid it. So you have to pray that everyone around you knows what they're doing. And with the car how it is at the moment, that's even harder to do than normal. So other than that, just the racing, there's always people around. Like there's just sort of separated into bunches, and there's always someone around us. But yeah, like I said before, I just couldn't get the handle on it. The whole time I was racing, I was going, "What am I doing wrong? What could they possibly be doing while they're pulling away that much?" You know what I mean? Like I couldn't figure it out for myself.
I think there's a
I'll
lot of
get
us,
there.
Mick.
I'll get there.
I think there was a lot of us asking that.
Yeah, well, I thought I was going to do well just because I've done a lot of practice before,
And also too, I mean, you take half a mile off this circuit compared to what we had last week. You had Michigan, the 2 miler, and the Irish Hills. This week, a 1.5. That added a little bit of a challenge. Throw an extra few cars on there adds to the traffic and the congestion of it as well. And then next week you go to Pocono, so 3 completely different dynamic circuits to start the season. That it's a tough start.
Yeah, well, I didn't know Pocono was next week. I like that one.
Oh, well, there you go. Watch Mick Skurlock next week, ladies and gentlemen.
I'll say that and watch me come last, mate.
No, don't sell yourself short. You had a terrific run tonight, as we say, in the top 5 and the top 3 in the end. So well done to you, and stick around, because if we get a chance, we'll get some more comments from you, but we'll definitely get you to thank your sponsors before we end this, baby. Let me press on here, because obviously the race ran a little over time, so we're already a little bit of overtime due here, ladies and gentlemen. We'll try and get everyone out of here by 10:30 Eastern Daylight Time, 12:30 NZ, and of course 7:30 for the recently rejoined western side of the country, formerly its own country, now part of the continent and part of the country in the Commonwealth of Australia once more. But that's more said about COVID politics than needs to be said tonight. Edward Foster and also Brad Newman are here. Let's start with Ed, because I mean,
What a race by Ed.
yeah, exactly. That was quite incredible, mate. You got thrown out by the safety car coming at the wrong time. You zigged, others zagged. They stayed out. They got rewarded with the safety car at the right time for them, the wrong time for you. And all of a sudden, you're fighting your way through from the mid-pack. But what a fight back, what a charge it was. Not without its moments. You had a little bit of panel damage along the way, but there was a fair bit of that tonight. You weren't alone. And then to be within a stone's throw of Newman with 2 laps to go, you must have been pinching yourself for green-white checker.
No, not really. I mean, the caution where I lost the lap was my fault anyway, because I made a stupid mistake and fell victim to the snap loose, and managed to pick up that little bit of damage on the side of the car, and I drove around with that for a bit. Caution came out because I wasn't getting anywhere. I came down. The only reason I went a lap down is I had to take those repairs. So if not for that, I would have been in a perfect spot. So it's my own stupid fault for that. Apart from that, I guess circumstances just played in at the end and allowed me to, I guess, play myself back into the race. But I think fortune probably smiled on me a little bit. I didn't have a lot of straight line speed. I was about 2 or 3k an hour down, maybe even a little bit more than that when I didn't have someone to draft with. So that's probably why you saw me sort of just sticking on the back of cars when I could and try and minimise that damage and get my straight line speed back, because through the turns we were good. It was just really the straights were a problem. So, made the mistake, paid the price, and probably got out of jail a little bit with P2, to be honest.
Yeah, exactly right. So obviously I mean, it was a night full of mistakes. You weren't alone. There were a lot of guys around you that come unstuck. Tricky night at the office because with so many stop, reset, restart sort of situations triggered by, I think we had 10 or 11 cautions in the end. It meant that we didn't know where to look because there was always something happening because every time you bunched the field up, all hell broke loose. And to be fair, as you say, second's a fair result, but it could have been better. It could have been so much worse as well. You were lucky not to get involved in any of the major incidents per se.
Yeah, there are a few that came a little bit close. But yeah, I mean, it's just the nature of the car. I mean, it's exactly as Skirley said earlier on. They're very sensitive to yaw, and they're very skittish on cold tyres as well. You saw that if we managed to get going for 5 laps, we were normally okay. But the stiffer sidewall on the car acts like a stiffer spring, so you got less grip anyway. And then, of course, if you get a bit of yaw on the car, there's no side force with these things, and you start dragging the diffuser through the air at an angle, it doesn't like it, and they just snap. So that's probably why I think we're seeing it across the board. Official races and other leagues and things like that as well. We're seeing it as something with these cars, and I mean, it's totally new. We've been running the Gen 6 for in various guises for a good few years now. So we've got this car that's completely new, and everyone's just sort of learning it. So once everyone gets on top of it, say by halfway through the year, I think things will be a lot better. But yeah, we're all a bit accident prone at the moment. Unfortunately, it caught me tonight as well. So.
All right. I'm just getting some messages here, so I'll get some clarification from Matt Davis and Mark Johansson in just a moment. But continuing with you, Ed, fuel consumption. Obviously, you were able to stretch the run by virtue of the amount of safety car runs we had. How was tyre wear, though?
Tyres were fine. You just had to drive it correctly and take care of them. And just, look, there's a technique for getting through the corners when the car goes tight, which it definitely did get. But look, tyre wear wasn't too bad. I seem to be able to hang on better than some of the other guys. But, yeah, I don't know what sort of damage they were carrying or anything like that. So, certainly in that first stint, when I was up behind Brad, he seemed to take off like a stabbed rat and then sort of came back to us a little bit. And I thought at that stage he'd potentially seen the best of his tyres and that we'd be able to make a move through, which I did, and it kind of seesawed a little bit from there. But look, tyre wear was not probably my biggest problem tonight, I don't think.
All right, you're seeing it there on screen, ladies and gentlemen. The top 3 and 4. I mean, Brad Newman in the Chevy from the Toyota. The Ford of Ed Foster, the Toyota of Michael Skurlock. The question was, obviously, for some reason, we had timing saying that Jaguar had edged out Skurlock. There's the evidence that we've got 13 hundredths of a second in favour of Skurlock. So that is how the Toyota edged out the Chevy tonight. Sometimes SDK Gaming doesn't get it right. Sometimes the iRacing timing doesn't get it right. But there's the proof in the pudding on your screen there. 13 hundredths of a second. That screams photo finish in horse racing circles and in our circles as well.
Here I was thinking it was a good thousandth of a second. Like I thought it was almost going to be a dead heat, and that's the question we were asking. So a 16th of an inch, as JP, our director, says. Oh, so 1/16 of an inch.
Wow. Yeah, it doesn't get much tighter than that.
That's a screw head.
Exactly. Well, as we say, we're in the United States, so we may as well use the terminology. It's a game of inches, isn't it? You would normally say centimeters or millimeters, but in this case, inches. No,
well, it doesn't matter if you win. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, though. Zach Cabin, winning is winning, as Vin Diesel would say.
Exactly right. And third in this case is Mick Skurlock. So, Ed, consistent, dominant start of the season for you, mate. Things are looking good, but are you able to show up every Saturday night and continue the run here, or are there going to be events where, because of circumstances beyond your control, you just can't be in the booth? You can't be in the cockpit?
Let's see. I don't tend to plan my social life too many weeks in advance, but we'll, Saturday night's obviously a bit of a night, so I'd be surprised if I make every single race throughout the year. But certainly, if I'm home, I'll definitely be jumping in.
And that's the hard thing as well. I mean, Matt Davis, we were talking to a few of the guys that have dropped in and had a chat to us. We were talking to JP and Matt, Mark Johansson as well about this. It is so. I mean, it's a testament to Mark Johansson and the crew here at Weekend Warriors, the Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship. But these guys, and I did that without the script, these guys are so committed to providing a Saturday night racing league, even in post-COVID times where we've got our social lives back, we've got back to normal, we're allowed to leave the house. It's still a testament that they've got so many people interested, so many people turning up, but they know full well that at some point, not everyone's going to be here. At some point, though, counter that by saying that it is going to be the bloke that can turn up to as many of these as possible and perform as well as possible that may reap the rewards at the end of the season, which is exactly what Darren McKenzie was able to do last season. Didn't win too many races out of the 35, but racked up enough points to have a comfortable buffer and won it with a couple of rounds to go.
Yeah, it's just, it comes back to that one word, doesn't it, Zach Cabin? Consistency, and more consistency. If you can be
Easier
a
to achieve
consistent,
if you're here.
that's it. And if you can be a consistent top 10 runner for the entire season, doesn't matter if you're within, you finish third, you finish eighth, whatever. All those points will count up. Each race is going to be, as I said earlier at the top of the broadcast, it's going to be a different race winner most weeks, and that race winner could be someone that's currently sitting in 20th in the championship. They could be just one of those freak race winners that steals the win away, steals the show, has the limelight, and then the week after they might drop back to the mid-pack again. So it's everyone's got their strengths and weaknesses for which track they like, which track they don't like. And if you can be a consistent top 10 runner every single race of the season and make every single race, you're going to do exactly what Darren McKenzie did and take out the championship.
And it is a massive commitment for anyone that can rock up.
Oh,
I think across the
Huge.
course of the, I think it's a 37-week season, and there's only 2 weeks where the guys are off. One being Easter, one being AFL Grand Final weekend, and that's deliberately put in there by Mark Johansson. Well done. It does all our sports fans a favour. But it's one of those things. That's a lot of Saturday nights to dedicate to being in the cockpit. So testament to anyone that can do that and reach rewards
for us as well.
100%. And obviously that's why we've got Carl on board to help out with the commentary when you and I aren't available. And we're making it work. And it's a testament to JP that he's able to dedicate 35 Saturday nights to it as well. Ed, get your thoughts on Pocono in just a moment. Want to get the race winner into the conversation before that, though. Bring in Brad Newman, who, for whatever reason, and I think it's only because I've watched a lot of NASCAR over the years, at points there I was thinking, don't say Ryan. Ryan Newman, of course, the 2008 Daytona 500 winner. But Brad Newman, the winner tonight in Las Vegas, and by gee, earned that one, mate. What a hectic night behind the wheel. So many obstacles, hurdles, cautions thrown in the way, so many spanners thrown in the works, strategy, all that goes out the window. You had to really think on your toes, and you had to really execute good racecraft to win that thing tonight. You didn't have to have the fastest car or always lead the race. You just had to be there at the right moment, and you were there for most of the night.
Yeah, thanks, mate. That was a lot of fun. It was good to get the Lobs Falcon Whitey's car across the line in P1. It wouldn't have been possible if not for some good banter along the way with Adam in the 55 and Curtis and Jared in the comms as well from Davies One Toyota. So thanks to them for that. It was a long race, 200 laps. Wouldn't have been able to do it if it wasn't for some good fueling from a Whitey's pie from here in Orange, New South Wales. Great pies. So I'd like to thank them for that as well.
There you go. Something about there must be a theme developing here, because we've been talking about pies all night. Pie shops in Queensland, pie shops in Orange. I mean,
got me hungry. I had to heat up some pizza.
Can I just say on that note, thoughts to the great mob at Yatla. Yatla pies, famous here in Queensland in the southeast. Even though we are 112 years behind. Famous here in the southeast. They went under as part of the floods this week, so you won't be getting your world famous Yatla pies as you come into the Gold Coast off the highway for the next short while as they get back on their feet. So thoughts out to them. And I must say, while we're on the plugs of pie shops, I did enjoy visiting a new Cessnock establishment while I was home, simply called the Pie Hole. Good caramel lattes, as recommended by my sister. Good pies, good sausage rolls. But obviously, I'm not the one thanking sponsors at this point in time. Brad is. So let's get back to him, mate. Awesome race. At one point there, actually at 2 points there, for stints of 40, 50 laps at a time, you had your hands full because you had no less than 3 blokes wanting to be at the pointy end, which is where you ended up. What was the game plan in those early stages? Were you thinking long game? Were you thinking lap 180, lap 190, just keeping the nose clean to get there? Or were you happy to go and duke it out with those guys right from the start and go elbow to elbow?
You've honestly already thought about it more than me. I was just out there driving, which I was sending it probably a bit too hard at the start. So I was my front right tyre was never flash into the stint. So
actually, that is a fair point. That is a fair observation from yourself because you did send it off the start. You quickly moved your way up from where did you start in the end? I'm just having a look here. Was it third row?
oh mate, I can't remember. It was a few hours ago now, but
Yeah, exactly.
it was around there somewhere.
And within 2-3 laps, you had a piece of the action at the front end of town. So you did muck around. It just goes to show that qualifying isn't everything in this game. It never is. And of course, the Las Vegas Motor Speedway delivers a classic. Fuel and tires. How was the wear? How was the consumption?
Fuel, I didn't really think too much about, but tires, I was definitely no good on my tires compared to the guys around me. They were definitely quicker in those long run stints at the end.
Having done the hard work to lead most of the night or be there most of the night, and Ed, of course, was making his way back through, did you start to worry when they got that late race caution and it was going to be you and him side by side for green, white checker?
No dramas, mate. There's no stress.
It makes it sound so easy, Matt Davis.
He does, doesn't he? He went out and he cruised around and he got the jump. And then he had a fight with Dyson, and then he just cruised off again. It's like he wasn't even breaking a sweat.
And that was
Happy
the
to
thing
be
as
here,
well.
mate. I'm just happy to be here.
100%. And that's what it's all about. Right? I mean, we can talk about, championships and racing for sheep stations and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, we're just blokes here having fun on a Saturday night.
That's exactly right.
And Brad Newman's a perfect shining example of that. Now, I'm all but out of questions before we get you guys to thank some sponsors. Matt Davis, have you got anything you want to add here? Mark Johansson, anything you want to add?
No, I just thank everyone for turning up and having a good race. I know these things are going to get better as like Ed said, as the year goes on, as iRacing gets more and more data to put into the programs.
Exactly.
So I just ask everyone to bear with it. I know that most of us run across the 3 leagues, us, ANZCAR and the Global Sim Racing League. Just bear with it, guys, because when we can turn it on, we certainly turn it on some good racing in all 3 leagues. And I mean to say, it's just good racing, good hard racing again.
And that was one of the top shelf ones, as far as I'm concerned. All the ones I've called with the Weekend Warriors, the Australian Stock Car Championship, all the races I've called, that was right up there as one of my favourites right from the outset. I'll say it. The 2022 benchmark is right here in Las Vegas. Looking forward to seeing what obviously the super speedways dish up, and Texas and Charlotte usually throw up something good too. So let's see what they throw up. But Las Vegas has easily set the benchmark in the early stages here. Let me go back to Brad Newman just for a moment here, and maybe get Ed Foster's thoughts on this as well. Ed, you ran into a little bit of trouble. You were lucky. You were able to soldier on. A couple of the key contenders of the night, and we've already mentioned them. I mean, Heddersheed and also obviously Dyson and Mackenzie. Mackenzie was dead so unlucky. That was the first lap of the race, for goodness sake, but he ended up finishing 19 laps down. And of course, young Dion DeGraff as well. They bit the dust a lot harder than you and weren't so lucky. So, I mean, in the context of things, as you say, second was a good outcome, all things considered. It could have been a lot worse.
Yeah, it certainly could have been. It could have been 38 places worse if I got my maths right. So, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly. And as for you, Brad, I mean, kept your nose clean, stayed out of trouble, but to deal with, I guess, those pressure cooker moments where the guys that were racing you hard brought themselves unstuck. You were lucky that it wasn't you. You were lucky that track position meant that you didn't get involved in any of the chaos. And again, as we say, by just keeping your nose clean, you reap the reward.
Yeah, that's it, mate. I mean, I was just rolling around trying to start a trouble. Like, it is a long race, so I don't want to do anything too crazy. So
Easier said than done, isn't it?
He
is
makes
true.
it sound so easy as
Yeah.
well, doesn't he? Just the way
Well-
that he voices it across. It's like, yeah, just try to stay out of trouble. Wasn't too bad.
Well, I was going to say, Matt Davis. I mean, you and I talk about this all the time. There are some circuits where, because, and we're talking circuit racing now. There are some circuits where, because of the nature of the tracks, you've got a lot of runoff area, you've got grass, gravel traps, etc., and so forth. Staying out of trouble is relatively easy because all the garbage goes to the gravel trap. You keep it on the black stuff, no drama. When you go to concrete canyons or ovals, there's concrete, there's Armco, all the triggers surrounding you, and it's so easy, as we saw there late in the piece, the big one of the night, and the biggest one I think was seen at Las Vegas in a while. It was so easy to get caught up as an innocent bystander, and that's one of the pitfalls of oval racing, but that's also what makes it so compelling and interesting for all the people that packed the grandstand virtually tonight.
Oh yeah, 100%. It definitely goes away from what we're definitely used to in the V8 supercar world, where we do throw it at those guys and throw them into a concrete canyon, and they conduct themselves really well, but when it does go wrong, it goes horribly wrong, and it just goes to show there was one accident, took out half the field. Whooshka, as you like to say.
Next week's race is, of course, the Tricky Triangle 300. Thanks to Mark Johansson for sending that through momentarily. We'll get the thoughts of Edward and Brad on that in just a moment. I mean, there were a couple of moments tonight purely because of the pace that these cars were carrying, that not even the greatest reflexes in the world were going to keep some of those cars from trouble. I mean, so many caught up in that first caution, another batch caught up in the second caution, and then, of course, the 10th and 11th cautions of the night were rather biggies as well. Let's start to wrap this baby up. Brad Newman, Edward Foster. I'll get you to thank some sponsors in just a moment, but first up, Ed, to you. 3 totally different circuits in as many weeks. Tricky Triangles next, the 300 miler there. So what's that? That's going to be 120 laps. What are your thoughts going to Pocono next week?
Not a lot, really. I mean,
I talk it up.
Show up at the track, drive around it, and see what happens.
Excellent stuff. Brad, can you keep the winning streak going, or are you going there with very little expectations based on what we've heard from you so far? Because, as you said, you make it sound very easy.
Oh, I'm usually pretty busy with some other commitments most weekends, mate. So I'm not sure when I'll show up, but we'll see.
So there you go, Matt Davis. Brad's going to be one of those floaters that we talked about. One of the guys that comes in and out when it's convenient for him to be here, when he's able to. And then there obviously will be a fair batch of what we'll call regulars throughout the course of the season. Edward,
and that's another thing as well to note
Matt,
for the championship as well, Zach Caven, is the floaters of, let's say Brad Newman, for instance, who'd come in and steal the show for the weekend away from the guys that are competing for that championship and ever fighting championship, the race win for those championship points. So, stuff like that throws the mix into the championship really, really well. And that's what's going to really entertain this season, I reckon.
Absolutely. Now, before we wrap things up, Edward Foster, you must have a few people you'd like to thank.
Just the other Natari boys. I guess none of them had a good night tonight. And I think it was my half spin that actually finished off JCW's night. So got to apologise to him for that. I think he spun trying to avoid me. And but yeah, anyway, AJD and Fully Floored. Great to have them on board for this season, and we'll see what we can do.
JCW had already had one moment before you finished him off, Ed. Don't feel too bad about that. But I know JCW will be licking his wounds, no doubt about that, before we get into the Tricky Triangle. As for you, Brad Newman, who would you like to thank now that you've reached the top step of the summit?
Yeah, thanks, mate. I'd like to thank Whitey's Pies from here in Orange, New South Wales. Best pies in the country. And I'd like to thank the boys from Davies One Toyota, Adam, Curtis, and Jared. I wouldn't be able to do this without them. So thanks.
Excellent stuff. We've enjoyed it immensely. We hope you have as well, Australia. A big night at the office and a huge field start of this thing. It was very depleted by the end, but one thing remained the same, and that was Brad Newman's presence at the front of it from first until last. And a very nice fight back from Edward Foster got him onto the podium. And of course, Mick Skurlock rounding out the podium just ahead of Raymond Jagger and Ruben Phelps. Now, Mark Johansson, final thoughts to you and your thoughts on the tricky triangle next week.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one next week. I haven't looked at the weather that we're going to have, but yeah, if we get the same amount of cars as tonight, we're definitely going to have some fun and fast action.
Sleet, rain, snow. No, no, you can't do that. It's an oval. Hey, I'm looking. Although that being said, we have seen NASCAR races in the rain before. When the rain model comes in, if we hit a road course, who knows? Could be an interesting night at the office. Matt Davis, nice to work alongside you for the first time in 2022. We've got a big year ahead of us once we get into Monday and Tuesday night motorsport. Obviously, Dean Reddit will be with you on a Monday night. I'll be here on a Tuesday night. I'm looking forward to it immensely. That all starts up in a couple of weeks. March 21, 22. Lock it in your diary. Ladies and gentlemen, the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting exploding with some more supercar racing for you. The top heavyweights of the Australian variety as opposed to what we're bringing you with the Yanks on a Saturday night. But final thoughts to you on tonight. Compelling night of viewing, very entertaining race, good winner in the end, and maybe a driver of the night nomination or two as well.
Oh, mate, it's been an absolute stellar race. The Desert 300 at Texas Motor Speedway, it's turned in Oregon. It's in the top of my races for
Las Vegas,
the.
Matt.
Oh, sorry. My apologies. That's
Don't worry.
that's late at night. Excuse me. It's 10:30 over here, mate. In proper civilization, it's getting
in
on
progressive civilization.
It's,
Don't worry
it's
about that.
getting on. It's getting on in the times, mate, where it's I've got to go retire soon, and the dad duties are going to start coming in. But no, what an absolute cracking race! It's the 300 miler, 200 laps, action packed from start to finish. Hard charger awards tonight. Jeez, that's a tough one. And I'm gonna have to go to Ed Foster. Eddie Foster has to take that one out in my books. Yes, he drove a stellar race to come all the way back from the back of the field into second. And finish off strong in second too. It wasn't just a lazy attempted second. It was a strong attempted second. He had to fight for it the whole way. So definitely an absolute cracking race by that man right there. Looking forward to next week for the tricky triangle. And what a way to start off our 2022 season together in the booth. And it's good to be back together with the gang and have all the boys back together for for what's going to be probably one of the busiest years, I'd say, in the sim commentary booth that we've had. I mean, we've had some pretty chaotic ones in 2021, and I think 2022 is just going to get a whole lot more busier, mate.
I was going to say last year was fairly busy because we started the RSRA Supercar Series a lot earlier than this. So I don't know if we'll get as busy as we did last year, but it's certainly going to be busy all the same. Thanks for your help tonight, mate. Great work as always. Thanks to JP for pushing the buttons behind the scenes. Big thanks to all the people that make it possible for SimShed Broadcasting to do what they do, including, of course, the team at Track Cams for Gourmet, who provide all the camera angles for JP everywhere we go. Next week, the Tricky Triangle 300 from Pocono, virtual Pocono. And that's, of course, our first trip to Pennsylvania for the year. Looking forward to that. 7:20 Australian Eastern Daylight Time. Make sure you join the team for that. Matt Davis and I will see you again very shortly. He's off to compete in the state title next week. I'm, of course, heading off with some radio commitments and some other stuff as well. Before we go, though, let's have a look at the championship points at the conclusion of the second round. Let's see what it means going into the final 33 of the season. We're only chipping away at this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a long way to go. Edward Foster on 83 points, leading Ruben Phelps 74 and Norman Clark on 72. Mark Smith 65, Greg Spencer 64, Stephen Williams 61, Adam Malone on 60, Darren McKenzie on 57, Wayne Von Biljon on 52, and Devon Stove on 52 as well. We'll let that keep scrolling so you can find out where your favourite drivers rank after all of that. Brad Newman, tonight's race winner, down in 19th on 40 points. So obviously a very good night at the office for him, and whether he builds on that as the season goes on, as you heard, it depends on what his availability. He'll be one of those guys that just floats in and out, but he's going to be a threat when he's here, and looking forward to seeing what he brings to the table after tonight's performance. Performance. It sets us up very nicely for the rest of the season in the Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship, and plenty more where that came from on the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting throughout the rest of the season. So, March 21-22 is when the Supercar Series action gets underway. The Super 2 moving to Monday Night Motorsport as opposed to Wednesday Night Motorsport last year. The Super Series we do on a Tuesday night. The stock car action every Saturday night from 7:20 Australian Eastern Daylight Time until, of course, we get to that second Saturday in April, where it will be back to 7:20 Australian Eastern Standard Time, when we're not disjointed in 5 different time zones and we're back to the normal 3. Looking forward to that immensely, and looking forward to your company as we go racing right throughout the course of the year. If tonight's any guide, it should just whet your appetite for more where that came from and get you excited about what's ahead for the rest of the season, because that had a little bit of everything tonight. It was good to be back in the booth, and it was good to get up and about with these guys. Now, before we go, it would be remiss of us not to touch on the very tragic news of the last 36 hours in Australian sport. It has been an absolute dead set shock. Some of the darkest days Australian cricket has ever seen. The Earl of Twirl, the King of Spin, Shane Warne, passing away rather unexpectedly overnight in Thailand, and that was at the age of 52. Suspected heart attack. 3 iconic Australian cricketers inside 12 months. Dean Jones, of course, passing away of a heart attack last year in around, I think it was April or May. Then, of course, obviously, we lost Rod Marsh yesterday morning after a heart attack he suffered last week. And then Warney overnight just topped it off very tragically so. The tributes have been endless. The posthumous tributes and legacies and I guess endorsements will follow. We've already seen Warney honoured with the offering of a state funeral, and of course also the Great Southern Stand to be renamed the SK Warne Stand, which is rather fitting considering that was his hallowed turf, and that was where he took not only his Boxing Day hat-trick in 1994, but also the 700th wicket on Boxing Day in 2006. I mean, blown away by Warney's passing. Rod Marsh's wasn't as much of a shock or a surprise, but still just as sad, because obviously he'd been in an induced coma for a week, but Warney just knocked the wind out of everybody's sails, given it was so unexpected, and a real tough, fickle reminder of just how fragile life is, how quickly it can end, and especially when he was only 52 years old. Our prayers, our thoughts, our love with his family and the Australian cricket team in Pakistan, who've had to deal with all that news whilst also playing the Paks in the first test in Rawalpindi. They're struggling too, because the Packers have smashed them all over the park in the first innings. But a sad day for Australian cricket. For me, Matt Davis, I'll get your thoughts on this before we go. I mean, we're not here to talk about cricket, but it would be remiss of us not to on a day as symbolic and as historic for all the wrong reasons as this. For me, I don't know about you, but for me, as soon as I heard the news, I kind of had to blink and second guess myself, because I just couldn't believe it. I found out before I went to bed early hours of this morning, and I immediately had flashbacks to the week where Monday, September 4, we lost Steve Irwin on the Monday, we lost Peter Brock on the Friday back in 2006, because 2 legends, 2 iconic figures, albeit in a much shorter time frame than what we saw in 2006. But that was where my mind immediately went to. And it's just been, it's been hard to be excited or be energetic about much today until that race exploded tonight, because it just feels as though a big chunk, a big chapter of our childhood and our sporting legacy has left us all too soon.
Yeah, you hit the nail right on the head there. I grew up, with the best, Australian cricket team that there was, and that was with, Warney, Gilly, Hayden, all those boys, and I watched Warney, take the big 700 wickets, and and this
Yep.
and that, and watch the celebration and watch his retirement, and then all the trouble that he got into afterwards when he decided to turn into, or not turn into the party animal, but
Yeah.
continue to be the party animal that he was. So, but it was
Oh,
just
that's
more
exactly right.
mainstream this time, and it wasn't so hidden behind the Australian cricket team. So,
Yeah.
I mean, look, he he was a big part of many people's lives, and a lot of people who were spin bowlers really felt the pain today of Warnie's passing, and they always say it comes in threes, and so far there's two. We're just waiting for the third. So
Yeah, and
it's
I'm already worried about that. Don't worry.
and the third one is what worries everyone the most. But look,
Yep.
the big condolences to Warnie's family. That who knows, they may be tuning in tonight, or their friends may be tuning in tonight. You never know what's going
Exactly.
on. So no, big condolences to them, and a big part of the sporting world is closed off, and another one of my childhood memories have closed off as well with the passing of Warnie. So yeah, very
And,
shocked I was this morning, but look, it's life goes on as we always say.
Yep. Anything to add, Mark Johansson, before we wrap this baby up?
No, mate. Just thanks very much for your time and effort, and we'll see everyone back here next week.
Thanks very
Yeah,
much, as
we'll
always.
see you in a couple weeks' time, I guess, Mark
Absolutely, we
Johansson.
will. 100%. Looking forward to that already. And a big thanks to everybody for tuning in and joining us throughout the course of the evening. 3 hours and 25 minutes. Felt like that. It was over in the blink of an eye. What an entertaining night it was. It didn't drag, it didn't bore, it didn't disappoint.
No.
It was stock car racing at its finest in the virtual world at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway on the iRacing platform. The Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship continues next week. Thanks as always to JP for punching the buttons behind the scenes and making the broadcast happen for us and making us sound good along the way as well. On behalf of Mark Johansson, Matt Davis, and all the crew here at the platforms of SimShed Broadcasting, thanks for coming along for the ride. I'm Zach Cabin. Congratulations to Brad Newman on victory in round 2 of the championship. Looking forward to the Tricky Triangle 300 next Saturday night in Varley. Rod Marsh, Shane Warne, condolences and love to all their family, colleagues, and friends, and everyone feeling it tonight. On behalf of the team, I'm Zach Cabin. We'll see you next week. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye for now.